Lucas Hayes sat across from a stranger in a candlelit restaurant, pouring out his heart about his dead wife and 8-year-old daughter to a woman who wasn't supposed to be there. The confession hung between them like fog, raw and unfiltered, until she stood abruptly and walked out without a word. He'd blown it, again. But when the real blind date finally pushed through the restaurant door 20 minutes later, snow-covered and gasping for breath after walking 3 miles through a blizzard, Lucas realized the universe had just played the cruelest or kindest joke of his life. If you want to see how one night changed everything, stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The reservation slip crumpled in Lucas Hayes' palm felt like surrender. Table 14, 7 o'clock. He'd said yes to this setup 3 weeks ago in a moment of weakness, or maybe clarity, he couldn't tell anymore, when his business partner Mike had cornered him during lunch and refused to take no for an answer. "You've been dead inside for 4 years, Mike had said, not unkindly. Emma would want you to try." Emma, his wife, gone in a flash of headlights and twisted metal on Route 9, the same stretch of highway he still avoided like it carried plague. Their daughter Mia had been 6 then. Now she was 8, and sometimes Lucas caught her staring at him with an expression that looked disturbingly like pity. The restaurant, Romano's, was the kind of place that tried too hard. Too many candles, too much exposed brick, waiters who introduced themselves like they were auditioning for a Broadway show. Lucas hated it immediately, which seemed fitting. He was 3 minutes early, which meant he'd have to sit there alone, sweating through his shirt collar, until this woman, Rebecca something, Mike's wife's yoga instructor, arrived and they could begin the painful ritual of pretending this wasn't a terrible idea. He gave his name to the hostess, a young woman with severe bangs who looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. He understood the feeling. "Right this way, Mr. Hayes." She led him past couples who looked genuinely happy, their laughter cutting through the soft jazz playing overhead. Lucas followed her to a corner booth, candlelight throwing shadows across the exposed brick wall. He slid in, immediately regretting the choice of seating. Trapped in the corner, no easy exit. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. He checked his phone twice, found no messages, and tried not to look like a man who'd been stood up. The waiter came by. Tyler, according to his name tag, and Lucas ordered a beer he didn't want just to have something to do with his hands. At 7:18, a woman walked in. She wasn't beautiful in the conventional sense. Her dark hair was wind-whipped, her coat clearly off the rack from somewhere affordable, her boots scuffed at the toes. But there was something in the way she carried herself, a kind of quiet determination that made Lucas sit up straighter. She scanned the room with sharp eyes, and when they landed on his table, she smiled. Not the practiced smile of someone on a first date, but something more genuine. Surprised, almost. She walked over. "Lucas?" He stood, nearly knocking over his untouched beer. "Yeah, hi, Rebecca?" "Actually, it's Lena," she said, sliding into the booth across from him without waiting for an invitation. "Rebecca's my middle name, but I hate it. Too formal." "Oh, okay. Lena, that's nice." She laughed, and it sounded real. "You're nervous. Is it that obvious?" "Little bit." She shrugged out of her coat, revealing a simple black sweater that had seen better days. "Don't worry, I'm nervous too. First date in, honestly, I've lost count." Something in Lucas relaxed, just slightly. "Same. Well, not lost count. I know exactly how long. 4 years, 2 months, 16 days. The words came out before he could stop them, and he immediately wished he could swallow them back. Too much. Way too much for a first date. But Lena didn't flinch. "That's specific," she said quietly. "My wife died." Why was he saying this? He'd planned to make it through appetizers at least before dropping the widow bomb, but apparently his mouth had other ideas. Lena's expression shifted. Not pity, thank God. Not pity, but understanding. "I'm sorry, I can't imagine." No one can until it happens to them. Lucas picked up his beer, set it down without drinking. "I have a daughter, Mia. She's 8, thinks I need to get out more, which is hilarious coming from a 3rd grader. Smart kid. Too smart. She found my dating profile and changed my age to 35. Added 3 inches to my height." Lena laughed again, and this time Lucas felt something shift in his chest. Not quite warmth, but the absence of cold. Tyler appeared with menus and a practiced smile. "Can I start you folks off with some appetizers?" "Give us a minute," Lena said, waving him off with the ease of someone who'd waited tables herself. When he left, she leaned forward, elbows on the table. "So, Lucas Hayes, widower, father of a too-smart 8-year-old who doctors his dating profile. What else should I know? I run a logistics company. Started it 7 years ago. We do route optimization for delivery services, some warehousing. It's boring. Boring pays the bills." "It does." He found himself leaning forward too, matching her posture. "What about you? What does Lena not Rebecca do?" "Social work, child protective services mostly. Also boring depending on who you ask." "That's not boring. That's—" He stopped. "That's hard." "It is." Something flickered across her face, there and gone. But someone has to do it. They ordered food neither of them would remember later. The conversation flowed easier than Lucas had expected, easier than he'd experienced with anyone since Emma. Lena asked about Mia, what she liked, what she struggled with, whether she was adjusting okay after losing her mother. Lucas found himself answering honestly instead of deflecting the way he usually did. "She's angry and," he said, surprising himself. "Not all the time, but it comes out in these bursts. Last week she threw a book at her teacher because he corrected her math homework." "That's normal." "Is it?" "Completely. She lost her mother. She's allowed to be angry." Lena picked at her pasta. "Does she talk about it?" "Not to me. We tried therapy for a while, but she clammed up, wouldn't say a word. Sometimes kids don't want to talk to their parents about the hard stuff. They think they're protecting you." Lucas stared at her. "How do you know that?" "I have a sister, 15. Our parents died when she was 7. I've been raising her since." Lena's voice went flat, the kind of flat that meant she'd practiced this story until it stopped hurting. "Car accident, drunk driver." The air between them changed. Something unspoken passed across the table, a recognition that went deeper than sympathy. "I'm sorry," Lucas said. "Me too." Lena met his eyes. "But we're surviving, right? That's what we do." "Is it enough? Just surviving?" "Some days." She paused. "Not always." They sat in silence for a moment, the restaurant noise fading to background static. Lucas felt something crack open in his chest, something he'd kept locked down tight for 4 years. It terrified him. "My wife died on Route 9, he heard himself say. Head-on collision. Some kid texting and driving crossed the center line. She was coming home from her book club. I was giving Mia a bath. The police showed up at 9:47 p.m. I remember because Mia was complaining that Sesame Street was almost over, and I'd promised she could watch the end." Lena reached across the table. Her hand stopped just short of his, hovering. "Lucas, I haven't been on that road since. I drive 40 minutes out of my way to avoid it. Mia doesn't even know. She thinks I just like the scenic route." He looked at Lena's hand, still suspended between them. "I'm a mess. You should probably run." "I'm not running." "Why not?" She smiled, sad and small. "Because I'm a mess too." Her hand closed the distance. Her fingers were warm. They talked for another hour. About Mia's school, about Lena's sister Sophie and her struggles with high school, about the small, stupid things that filled their days and the large, terrible things they carried. Lucas found himself laughing at Lena's story about Sophie trying to dye her hair purple and ending up with something closer to swamp green. Lena choked on her wine when Lucas described Mia's attempt to give their dog a haircut with kitchen scissors. "She said Cooper looked shaggy," Lucas said. "Now he looks like he survived a lawnmower accident." "Please tell me you have pictures." "So many pictures." Tyler cleared their plates and asked about dessert. Lena checked her phone and her expression changed. "Is that the time?" She looked genuinely surprised. I need to go." "Oh, okay." Lucas tried to hide his disappointment and failed miserably. "This was really nice." "It was." She stood, pulling on her coat with quick, practiced movements. "I'm sorry, I didn't realize how late it got. Sophie's expecting me, and she worries if I'm not home when I say I'll be." "No, I get it. Really." She hesitated, and for a moment Lucas thought she might sit back down. Instead, she reached into her purse and pulled out a crumpled receipt, scribbling something on the back. Here, my number, in case you want to do this again. Lucas took it, their fingers brushing. I'd like that. Good. She smiled, and it reached her eyes this time. Call me. Don't wait 4 years. Then she was gone, weaving through tables toward the exit. Lucas watched her go, feeling lighter than he had in years. He looked down at the receipt in his hand, at the numbers written in hurried script, and allowed himself something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Tyler appeared at his elbow. Can I get you anything else, sir? No, I'm good. Just the check. Already taken care of. Tyler gestured toward the door. The lady paid on her way out. Lucas blinked. She did? Said it was her turn, whatever that means. Tyler shrugged. Must be some inside thing you two have. But they didn't have an inside thing. They just met. Unless... Lucas's phone buzzed. He pulled it out, expecting a text from Lena. Instead, it was Mike. How'd it go? Rebecca's stuck in traffic, but should be there any minute. Don't give up on her. The restaurant tilted. Rebecca. The blind date. The yoga instructor. Lucas's eyes shot to the door, then back to his phone. He pulled up his text thread with Mike, scrolling back to the setup details. There. A picture Mike had sent him 3 weeks ago. A blonde woman with a bright smile. Nothing like the dark-haired stranger who'd just paid for his dinner and given him her number. Oh no, Lucas said out loud. Sir? Tyler looked concerned. I need... Lucas stood so fast he knocked his chair backward. Which way did she go? The lady? Out the front, maybe 2 minutes ago. Lucas bolted for the door, leaving Tyler calling after him about the coat he'd forgotten. The winter air hit him like a slap, cold enough to sting. The parking lot was mostly empty, streetlights casting yellow pools across fresh snow. No sign of Lena anywhere. He pulled out the receipt she'd given him, fingers numb, and dialed. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail. A generic automated message, no personal greeting. Lena, it's Lucas, from the restaurant. Listen, I think there's been a... The restaurant door opened behind him. Lucas turned. A blonde woman stood in the doorway, snow melting in her hair, breathing hard like she'd run a marathon. She wore a blue coat he recognized from Mike's photo, and her face was flushed with cold and exertion. Lucas Hayes, she said between gasps. Yes? I'm Rebecca Brooks. She bent over, hands on knees, trying to catch her breath. I am so sorry I'm late. My car died on Route 9. I've been walking for 3 miles. My phone died 2 miles ago. This is the worst first impression in the history of first impressions. Lucas stared at her snow-caked boots, her wind-burned cheeks, her absolutely genuine distress. This was his actual blind date. This woman who'd walked 3 miles through a snowstorm to meet him. You walked, he said stupidly. I promised I'd be here. Rebecca straightened up, pushing wet hair out of her face. I don't break promises if I can help it. Is the date already over? Did I completely blow it? Behind her, through the restaurant window, Lucas could see Tyler clearing his table. The receipt in his hand felt like evidence of a crime he hadn't meant to commit. He started, then stopped. How did you explain that you just had the best conversation of your life with a complete stranger who thought she was someone else? That you'd poured your heart out to a woman who wasn't your date, who you'd probably never see again, who'd walked away with a piece of you that you hadn't realized you were ready to give? I need to sit down, Lucas said. Rebecca's face fell. Oh, okay. I understand if you want to reschedule, or if this is too weird. No, yes. He took a breath. Let's go inside. You're freezing. We should talk. She studied him, and he saw intelligence in her eyes, the kind that missed very little. Something happened. Something happened, Lucas agreed. They went back inside. Tyler, to his credit, didn't bat an eye when Lucas returned with a completely different woman. He just brought Rebecca a towel and a menu and a cup of coffee she hadn't ordered. Rebecca wrapped her hands around the mug, steam rising in front of her face. So, want to tell me why you look like you've seen a ghost? Lucas did. He told her everything. The woman who'd sat down, the conversation, the number on the receipt, the dawning realization that he'd been on a date with someone else entirely. He expected anger, or at least annoyance. Instead, Rebecca started to laugh. "You're kidding," she said. "I wish I was." "You accidentally went on a date with a stranger who just happened to walk in at the exact right time." She wiped her eyes. "That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard." "I'm aware." "And you liked her?" It wasn't a question, but Lucas answered anyway. "I did." Rebecca's smile faded, but not in a bad way. "Well, that's honest, at least." "I'm sorry. This is completely unfair to you. You walked 3 miles. Through a blizzard. Don't forget the blizzard." But she said it gently. "Lucas, can I tell you something? Please?" "I didn't want to come tonight." She took a sip of coffee. "Mike's wife has been setting me up for months, and I finally agreed just to get her off my back. I figured we'd have an awkward dinner, make excuses, never speak again. That was the plan." "Great plan," Lucas said weakly. "Right?" Rebecca leaned back. "But then my car died, and I could have called a cab, but I thought, what kind of person doesn't even try? What if he's sitting there waiting, thinking he got stood up?" So I walked. And by mile 2, I was cursing myself for being an idiot. And by mile 3, I was so cold I couldn't feel my feet, but I kept going because I'd said I would be there. "You did." "I did." She set down her mug. "And now I show up to find out you just had a meaningful connection with someone else." The universe has a terrible sense of humor. "The worst," Lucas agreed. They sat in silence for a moment. Outside, snow was falling harder now, turning the parking lot into a white blanket. "For what it's worth," Rebecca said, "you seem like a good guy, the kind who feels terrible about an honest mistake. And that woman, Lena, you said? She's lucky you're beating yourself up about this instead of just ghosting her." "I gave her my word I'd call." "See? Good guy." Rebecca stood, pulling her still damp coat back on. "I'm going to go find a cab before the storm gets worse. You should call her." "Rebecca, wait." Lucas stood too. "Can I at least give you a ride? You shouldn't be out in this." She considered, then nodded. "That would be nice. Thank you." They walked out to Lucas's car together, the snow already covering his windshield. He started the engine, cranked the heat, and spent 5 minutes scraping ice while Rebecca waited inside. When he climbed back in, she was texting someone. "Just letting my roommate know I'm alive," she said. "Where am I going?" She gave him an address 20 minutes away. They drove in comfortable silence at first, the windshield wipers beating a steady rhythm. The roads were getting bad, other cars crawling along at 15 miles per hour. "Can I ask you something?" Rebecca said eventually. "Sure." "What are you going to do?" "About?" "Lena. Are you really going to call her?" Lucas gripped the steering wheel. "I don't know. Is that terrible?" "It's honest." Rebecca watched the snow fall. "You know what I think?" "What?" "I think the universe put her in your path for a reason. Maybe she's the one. Maybe she's just practice for the one. Either way, you owe it to yourself to find out." "I have a kid to think about." "Kids are resilient. They want their parents to be happy." "How do you know?" "I'm a teacher," Rebecca said. "3rd grade. I see kids every day who are carrying their parents' sadness around like backpacks. It weighs on them. You think you're protecting Mia by staying stuck, but you're not." Lucas had no answer for that. He dropped Rebecca off in front of a modest apartment building, the kind with external stairs and peeling paint. She opened the door, letting in a blast of cold air, then paused. "Thank you for the ride, and for being honest. Thank you for walking 3 miles to meet a stranger." She smiled. "Good luck, Lucas. With everything." Then she was gone, trudging through ankle-deep snow to her front door. Lucas waited until she was safely inside before pulling away, his mind spinning. The drive home took 45 minutes in the storm. By the time he pulled into his driveway, the snow had turned the neighborhood into something from a Christmas card. The porch light was on. He'd left it on for himself, a habit from the early days of single parenting when coming home to a dark house felt too much like coming home to an empty one. Inside, he found his mother-in-law, Helen, asleep on the couch, the TV playing some home improvement show on mute. She stirred when he closed the door. "You're back late," she said, blinking herself awake. "Storm's bad. Took forever." Lucas hung up his coat. "How was Mia?" "Perfect, as always. We made cookies. She ate 4 before I cut her off." Helen stood, stretching. "How was the date?" "Complicated." "That's not a no." It's not a yes either. Lucas sank into the armchair. Can I ask you something? Of course, sweetheart. Do you think Emma would want me to date? Really? Helen's expression softened. Oh, Lucas, she'd want you to be happy, whatever that looks like. I'm not sure I remember how. Then maybe it's time to learn again. She squeezed his shoulder. I'm going to head home before the roads get worse. Call me tomorrow? I will. After she left, Lucas climbed the stairs to Mia's room. She was asleep, sprawled across her bed in the boneless way only children could manage, her favorite stuffed elephant clutched to her chest. Cooper, their half-bald dog, lifted his head from the foot of the bed and wagged his tail once before settling back down. Lucas sat on the edge of the bed, watching his daughter breathe. She had Emma's nose, his stubborn chin. Sometimes when she smiled a certain way, it was like looking at a ghost. Your mom would have handled this better, he whispered. She always knew what to do. Mia stirred but didn't wake. Lucas pulled out the receipt from his pocket, Lena's number written in that hurried script. He should throw it away. The whole thing had been a mistake, a cosmic mix-up that would only lead to more confusion. The smart thing would be to forget it ever happened, but he didn't want to be smart. He wanted to call her. He wanted to hear her voice again, to know if that connection he'd felt was real or just the desperate imagination of a lonely man. He wanted to know her last name, where she worked, whether she liked her coffee black or loaded with cream and sugar. He wanted to tell her that he'd thought about her the entire drive home, that sitting across from Rebecca had felt like wearing someone else's clothes. Technically functional, but fundamentally wrong. He wanted impossible things. His phone buzzed, a text from Mike. How'd it go? Rebecca said you were a gentleman. She likes you. Lucas stared at the message. Rebecca had lied for him, or at least been generous with the truth. She could have told Mike the whole embarrassing story, but she hadn't. He typed back. She's great. Tonight was complicated. Can I call you tomorrow? Sure thing. Glad it went okay. Lucas set down his phone and looked at the receipt again. In the dim light from Mia's nightlight, shaped like a crescent moon, a gift from Emma's mother, he could barely make out the numbers. Tomorrow, he decided. He'd call tomorrow, in the daylight, when his head was clear and he could think of what to say that didn't sound insane. But when tomorrow came, it brought complications he never saw coming. He didn't call the next day, or the day after that. The receipt stayed in his wallet, tucked behind his driver's license, where he saw it every time he pulled out cash or his credit card. Each time he told himself he'd do it later, after work, after Mia went to bed, after he figured out what the hell to say to a woman he'd met by accident and couldn't stop thinking about. By Thursday, the receipt was starting to wear at the creases. You look like garbage, Mike said, dropping into the chair across from Lucas's desk. Outside the window, the city was still digging out from the storm. Plows had pushed mountains of snow into the corners of parking lots, turning everything gray and ugly. Thanks. You're a real confidence booster. I'm serious. When's the last time you slept? Mike leaned forward. Is this about Rebecca? Because she texted Jen and said you were nice, but it wasn't a match. No hard feelings. Lucas rubbed his eyes. He'd been staring at spreadsheets for 3 hours, and the numbers were starting to blur. It's not about Rebecca. Then what? Nothing. I'm fine. You're a terrible liar. Mike grabbed a stress ball from Lucas's desk and tossed it from hand to hand. Talk to me. So Lucas did. He told Mike everything. The mix-up, Lena, the conversation that had felt more real than anything in years, the receipt burning a hole in his wallet. Mike listened without interrupting, which was unusual for him. Let me get this straight, Mike said when Lucas finished. You went on a blind date with the wrong woman, had an amazing time, got her number, and now you're too chicken to call her. I'm not chicken. You're terrified. Okay, fine, I'm terrified. Then Lucas spun his chair toward the window. What if I call and she doesn't remember me? What if she does remember and regrets giving me her number? What if she's sitting at home wondering why you haven't called? Mike threw the stress ball at Lucas's head. It bounced off harmlessly. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Did you just quote a motivational poster at me? It worked, didn't it? Mike stood. Call her. Today. Now. I'll cover your meetings. I have 3 meetings. I'll cover all of them. Go. Mike pointed at the door. Before you talk yourself out of it again. Lucas sat in his car in the parking garage for 20 minutes, phone in hand, staring at the number he'd already memorized. His thumb hovered over the call button. This was insane. She probably didn't even remember him. 4 days had passed. She'd moved on. She probably thought he was a coward for not calling sooner. She'd be right. He pressed call before he could change his mind. It rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Hello? Her voice hit him like a shot of whiskey, warm and immediate. He'd half convinced himself he'd imagined how it sounded. Lena, it's Lucas. From Romano's. I don't know if you remember, we sat together and talked, and you gave me your number, and I'm realizing now that I'm calling you in the middle of the day, which might be completely inconvenient. Lucas. She laughed, and he heard relief in it. I remember. I was starting to think you'd lost my number. No, I wasn't sure if I should call since we weren't actually supposed to meet. We met anyway. We did. Lucas gripped the steering wheel with his free hand. Are you busy? I can call back later. I'm on lunch. You have perfect timing. He heard background noise, voices, and traffic. I'm outside the courthouse. Just finished a hearing. How'd it go? Can't talk about it. But let's just say some people should never be allowed near children. Her voice went hard, then softened. Sorry, that came out bitter. You're allowed to be bitter about your job sometimes, says the man who optimizes delivery routes for a living. Hey, those routes are important. You'd be amazed how much time we save companies. Riveting, but she said it with warmth. So, you called. I did. Why? The question caught him off guard. What do you mean? I mean, we had a nice conversation, but it was a mistake. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong people. You could have just let it go. She paused. Why didn't you? Lucas watched a woman load groceries into her trunk 3 spots over, moving with the efficient grace of someone who'd done it 1,000 times. Because I haven't been able to stop thinking about you, he said, and that scares the hell out of me. Silence on the other end, long enough that Lucas started to panic. Lena? I'm here. Her voice sounded different, smaller. That was honest. I'm trying that out, being honest. How's it working? Terrifying, like I said. She laughed again. I haven't stopped thinking about you either, for the record. Something in Lucas's chest loosened. Yeah? Yeah. I almost called you twice, talked myself out of it both times. Why? Same reason you waited 4 days. Because this is complicated and weird and probably a bad idea. Probably, Lucas agreed. But you called anyway. I did. So what now? Lucas hadn't thought that far ahead. Coffee, he said. Or lunch? Or dinner? I'm not picky. When? Whenever you're free. I'm free Saturday. Sophie has a thing with her friends. I could do lunch. Saturday works. Lucas pulled out his phone to check his calendar, realized he was already on his phone, felt like an idiot. There's a place near the river, Moretti's, you know it? I can find it. Noon? Perfect. Okay. He heard the smile in her voice. I'll see you Saturday, Lucas Hayes. See you Saturday, Lena Hart. He sat in his car for 10 minutes after hanging up, grinning like an idiot. Then he texted Mike. I did it. Saturday lunch. Mike's response came immediately. About damn time, now get back to work. Lucas tried to work. He really did. But his mind kept drifting back to the phone call, to the sound of Lena's voice, to the way she'd laughed when he'd rambled nervously. He was 45 minutes into a conference call about Q4 projections when he realized he hadn't heard a single word anyone had said. Lucas, you still there? Mike's voice cut through. Yeah, sorry, what was the question? The question was whether you're actually listening or just daydreaming about Saturday. There were chuckles from the other people on the call. Lucas's face burned. I'm listening. Sure you are. We'll circle back Monday. Everyone else, have a good weekend. The call ended. Lucas's desk phone rang immediately. You're useless today, Mike said. I know. Go home. Spend time with Mia. Try not to combust before Saturday. Is it that obvious? You've checked your phone 17 times in the last hour. I counted. Lucas hung up and did what Mike suggested. He left work early, picked Mia up from school himself instead of having Helen do it, and took her to the park even though it was cold enough to see their breath. "Why are you being weird?" Mia asked, pumping her legs on the swing. "I'm not being weird." "You're smiling too much. It's creepy." "I can't smile?" "Not like that. You look like the Joker." She dragged her feet to slow down. "Is this about the girl?" "Lena?" Lucas sat on the swing next to her. "Maybe. Are you going to see her again?" "Saturday. We're having lunch." Mia considered this. "What if I don't like her?" "Then we'll deal with that if it happens." "But you haven't even met her yet." "What if she doesn't like me?" The vulnerability in his daughter's voice cracked something open in Lucas's chest. He stopped his swing and turned to face her. "Mia, anyone who doesn't like you is an idiot. You're smart and funny and kind, and you make terrible jokes that somehow always make me laugh. My jokes are good. They're terrible, but I love them anyway." He reached over and squeezed her hand. "And if Lena doesn't see how great you are, then she's not the right person for either of us." Mia swung in silence for a moment. "Do you think Mom would be okay with this?" "I think your mom would want us to be happy, both of us." "I want you to be happy, Dad. You're sad a lot." "You think I don't notice, but I do." Lucas felt his throat tighten. "I'm working on the sad part." "Good." Mia jumped off the swing, landing in a crouch. "Can we get ice cream? It's 30 degrees outside." So, they got ice cream. Lucas watched his daughter demolish a chocolate cone that was definitely too big for her, talking nonstop about her friend Zoe's birthday party and the hamster their class was getting and whether she should try out for the school play. Normal kid things. Things that had nothing to do with dead mothers or nervous fathers or the constant weight of grief that never quite went away. When they got home, Helen's car was in the driveway. "Grandma!" Mia bolted from the car before Lucas had even turned off the engine. Helen met them at the door, pulling Mia into a hug. "There's my girl. How was school?" "Boring. We got ice cream, though." "Before dinner?" Helen looked at Lucas with mock disapproval. "We're rebels," Lucas said. "I can see that." Helen followed them inside. "I brought dinner, lasagna. It's in the oven." "You didn't have to do that." "I know, I wanted to." She hung up her coat. "Also, I wanted to hear about this date." "Grandma knows about Lena?" Mia's eyes went wide. "Everybody knows about Lena, apparently," Lucas muttered. "Mike told Jen, Jen told me. The gossip chain is alive and well." Helen shooed Mia toward the stairs. "Go wash up for dinner, sweetheart. I need to talk to your dad." When Mia was gone, Helen turned to Lucas with an expression he knew well. The same one she'd worn when he'd told her he was marrying Emma. The same one she'd worn at the funeral. Fierce and loving and a little scary. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. "No, I'm not sure about anything." "Good. If you were sure, I'd be worried." She sat at the kitchen table, gesturing for him to join her. "Tell me about her." Lucas did. He told Helen about the mix-up, about sitting with Lena and feeling something he'd thought was dead, about the phone call and Saturday's lunch plans. Helen listened the way she always did, with her full attention, not interrupting. "You like her," Helen said when he finished. "I barely know her." "You like her anyway." Lucas couldn't argue with that. "Yeah, I do. And it feels like a betrayal to Emma." He looked at his mother-in-law, this woman who'd lost her daughter and never blamed him for it, who'd stepped in to help raise Mia without being asked, who'd held him together when he couldn't do it himself. "How did you know?" "Because I felt the same way when I started dating again after Emma's father died." Helen smiled sadly. "I thought if I let myself be happy with someone else, it meant I hadn't loved him enough, that I was replacing him. What changed?" "I realized love isn't finite. Loving someone new doesn't erase the people we've loved before. Just means our hearts are bigger than we thought." She reached across the table and took his hand. "Emma would want you to be happy, Lucas. She loved you. She'd want you to love again." "What if I screw it up?" "Then you screw it up. At least you tried." Helen squeezed his hand. "The only real mistake would be not trying at all." Dinner was loud and chaotic in the best way. Mia talked with her mouth full. Helen told stories about Emma as a kid that made Lucas laugh and ache at the same time. and Cooper begged for scraps under the table with his patchy post-haircut fur, making him look like a punk rock reject. It felt normal. Not the careful, fragile normal of the early days after Emma died, but actual normal. The kind where people laughed without feeling guilty about it. After Helen left and Mia was in bed, Lucas sat in the living room with the TV on mute, scrolling through his phone without really seeing it. The house was quiet except for the furnace kicking on and Cooper snoring from his bed in the corner. His phone buzzed, a text from Lena. Random question, what's your favorite movie? Lucas smiled and typed back, The Princess Bride. You? Seriously? What's wrong with The Princess Bride? Nothing. It's perfect. I'm just surprised. Why? I don't know. You seem like an action movie guy. I like those too. But The Princess Bride is Mia's favorite. We watch it every time she's sick. That's sweet. What's yours? Shawshank Redemption. I'm very original. It's a great movie. It is. I cry every time Andy crawls through that pipe. Every time? Every single time. Lucas found himself grinning at his phone like a teenager. What are you doing right now? He typed. Sitting on my couch, eating cereal and watching true crime. You? Same. Minus the cereal and true crime. So just sitting on your couch? Pretty much. Wild Friday night. I'm living on the edge. There was a pause, then, I'm nervous about Saturday. Me too. What if we run out of things to talk about? We've been texting for 20 minutes about movies and cereal. I think we'll be fine. Fair point. Lena? Yeah? I'm really glad I called. Me too, Lucas. Me too. Saturday arrived cold and bright. Lucas woke up at 6, even though he didn't have to be at Moretti's until noon, his mind already racing. He went for a run, came back and showered, then stood in his closet for 20 minutes trying to decide what to wear. Casual, but not too casual. Nice, but not trying too hard. The blue shirt, Mia said from his doorway, making him jump. How long have you been standing there? Long enough to see you pull out the same shirt 3 times. She walked in and grabbed the blue button-down from his closet. This one. It makes your eyes look less tired. Thanks, I think. You're welcome. She handed it to him. Are you really nervous? Terrified. Why? Because I haven't done this in a long time, and I don't want to mess it up. Mia sat on his bed, swinging her legs. Dad, you're really smart about a lot of things, but you're kind of dumb about this. Excuse me? You can't mess it up if she already likes you. That's not how it works. When did you become an expert on relationships? I watch a lot of TV. She grinned. Just be yourself. That's what they always say. What if myself is boring? You're not boring. You're just a dad. That's different. Lucas laughed and pulled her into a hug. What would I do without you? Probably wear the wrong shirt and say the wrong thing. Probably. He arrived at Moretti's 10 minutes early, which meant he spent 10 minutes sitting in his car trying not to sweat through his blue shirt. The restaurant was busy. Saturday lunch crowd, families and couples and groups of friends. Through the window, he could see people laughing, eating, living lives that looked easy. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, running 5 minutes late. Don't leave. He smiled and typed back, I'll be here. She arrived 7 minutes late, slightly out of breath, wearing jeans and a green sweater that brought out flecks of gold in her eyes he hadn't noticed before. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail that had started to escape, and she had a coffee stain on her sleeve she kept trying to hide. Sorry, she said, sliding into the booth. Bus was late, and then I spilled coffee on myself like an idiot. I didn't even notice. Liar. It's right there. She pointed at the stain. Sophie said I should change, but then I'd be even later, so here we are. Me and my coffee stain. I think it adds character. You're very kind. She shrugged out of her coat. How are you? Nervous, Lucas admitted. Me too. I changed my outfit 4 times this morning. Sophie filmed it and threatened to put it on TikTok. Mia gave me a full consultation on which shirt to wear. Smart kid. Lena looked at his shirt. She chose well. I'll tell her you said that. She'll be insufferable. They ordered. Lena got a turkey club that was too big for any human to reasonably eat. Lucas got a burger that came with fries he knew he'd regret later, and fell into conversation as easily as they had at Romano's. Lena told him about Sophie's latest obsession with starting a podcast about unsolved mysteries, how she'd tried to interview their neighbors about a missing garden gnome. Did she solve the case? Lucas asked. She did, actually. Turns out Mrs. Chen's dog buried it in the backyard. Lena stole one of his fries. Sophie was very proud, wants to start a detective agency now. Mia wants to be a veterinarian, or an astronaut, or a professional ice cream taster. It changes weekly. That's the best age, when everything still seems possible. Do you remember feeling like that? Lena paused, her sandwich halfway to her mouth. Before my parents died, yeah. I was going to be a marine biologist. Had it all planned out. College in California, research trips to Australia, the whole thing. What happened? Sophie happened. She needed me more than I needed to study fish. Lena set down her sandwich. Social work wasn't the plan, but it's good work, important work. Most days I don't regret it. Most days? Some days I wonder what my life would have been like if that drunk driver had stayed home. If my parents had lived. If I'd gotten to be selfish and young and stupid like everyone else in their 20s. She looked at him. Does that make me a terrible person? It makes you human. That's generous. It's true. I think about it too. What my life would be like if Emma hadn't died. If Mia had grown up with both parents. If I hadn't had to learn how to braid hair from YouTube videos and guess what constitutes an appropriate outfit for third grade picture day. Did you guess right? Absolutely not. Mia looked like she was going to a funeral. Black dress, black tights, black shoes. She said she was being sophisticated. The photos are tragic. Lena laughed so hard she snorted, then covered her mouth. I'm sorry, that's not funny. It's a little funny. It's very funny. She wiped her eyes. Sophie wore a full dinosaur costume to her 6th grade photos, just committed fully to the bit. I didn't even try to stop her. I like your parenting style. It's less a style and more controlled chaos. They talked through lunch and 3 refills of coffee. The conversation wandered from kids to work to the small indignities of daily life. Lena told him about her worst case, a 2-year-old found living in a car with parents who were using, and how she'd cried in her supervisor's office afterward. Lucas told her about the day he'd had to fire someone who'd been with the company since the beginning, a good man who just couldn't keep up anymore. Did you give him severance? Lena asked. 6 months, and a reference. He found something better a month later, but it still felt awful. That's the worst part of being in charge. The decisions that don't have good answers. You get that too, in your job. Every day. Lena pushed her plate away, the sandwich only half eaten. Sometimes I take kids out of bad situations and place them somewhere worse. Sometimes I leave them with parents who are trying but failing, and I go home wondering if I just signed their death warrant. There's no manual for it. You just do your best and hope you're not destroying lives. Lucas reached across the table and took her hand. You're not destroying lives. You're saving them. How do you know? Because you care this much. People who destroy lives don't lose sleep over it. Lena's eyes were bright. She blinked and looked away, but didn't pull her hand back. They sat like that for a moment, the restaurant noise fading into background static. This is intense for a second date, she said finally. Is this a second date? I thought Romano's was a mistake. Okay, fine. First official date that was actually supposed to happen. That's a mouthful. You know what I mean. She smiled, and it was watery but real. Are you always this easy to talk to? Not usually. You bring it out in me. Is that a good thing? I think so. I haven't decided yet. They stayed at Moretti's until the lunch rush thinned out and the waitress started giving them looks. Lucas paid this time over Lena's protests, and they walked out into the cold afternoon. Which way are you going? Lucas asked. Bus stop's that way. She pointed east. You? I'm parked over there. He gestured to the lot. Can I give you a ride home? To the bus stop that's 2 blocks away? To your apartment, where you live, where you'll be warm instead of waiting in the cold for a bus that might not come for 20 minutes. She studied him. You really want to drive me home. I really do. Why? Because I'm not ready for this to be over yet. Lena's expression softened. Okay, but I'm warning you, my building is not impressive. I don't care about your building. The drive took 25 minutes through Saturday traffic that crawled. Lena directed him through neighborhoods he rarely visited, past bodegas with hand-painted signs and laundromats with bars on the windows. She pointed out landmarks as they went. The park where Sophie learned to ride a bike. The corner store run by a Korean woman who gave them expired candy for free. The church with the soup kitchen where they volunteered on Thanksgiving. "This is me," she said finally, pointing to a brick building that had seen better days. "Welcome to Casa Hart." Lucas pulled up to the curb. "It's nice." "You're a terrible liar." "Okay, it's not nice, but it's home, right?" "It is." She unbuckled but didn't move to leave. "Thank you for lunch and for listening to me talk about work stuff. I know it's depressing." "It's real. That's better than depressing." "Is it?" "I think so." They sat in comfortable silence, the engine running, heat blasting. Outside, a group of kids played basketball in the street, their breath fogging in the cold air. An old man walked a small dog that looked like a mop. Normal city Saturday things. "Lucas?" "Yeah?" "I'm really glad you called, even though it took you 4 days and I was starting to think you'd ghosted me. I was working up the courage. Did you find it?" "I'm here, aren't I?" She smiled and leaned over, kissing his cheek. Longer this time, warm and deliberate. When she pulled back, her eyes were serious. "Call me again?" "Tomorrow?" "Tomorrow works." She got out, then leaned back through the open door. "This is crazy, right? All of this?" "Completely crazy." "Good. I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page." She shut the door and walked toward her building, turning once to wave before disappearing inside. Lucas sat there for 5 minutes, touching his cheek where she'd kissed him, feeling like a teenager with his first crush. Then he drove home, where he found Mia and Helen decorating Christmas cookies in the kitchen. "How was it?" Mia asked immediately. "Good." "Just good?" "Really good." Helen smiled knowingly but didn't push. "We saved you some cookies." Mia insisted on making one that looks like Cooper. The cookie in question was a disaster. Too much frosting, googly eyes that were falling off, and what might have been an attempt at fur but looked more like a skin condition. "It's perfect," Lucas said. "It's terrible," Mia corrected, "but it's funny." They spent the evening decorating cookies and watching Christmas movies. Mia fell asleep halfway through Elf, curled up against Lucas's side. He carried her to bed, Cooper trailing behind them, and tucked her in with the elephant she'd had since birth. "Night, Dad," she mumbled, half asleep. "Night, sweetheart." "Is Lena nice?" "Very nice." "Good. Love you." "Love you too." Back downstairs, Helen was cleaning up the kitchen. Lucas helped her wash dishes, the two of them working in companionable silence. "She makes you smile," Helen said after a while. "Who?" "Don't play dumb." "Lena. You've checked your phone 6 times in the last hour." Lucas dried a plate. "Is it that obvious?" "To me, yes. To Mia, probably. To everyone else, definitely." Helen handed him another dish. "It's nice to see. You haven't smiled like this in years." "It's early. Could all fall apart tomorrow." "Could. But what if it doesn't?" "Then I have no idea what I'm doing." "Nobody does, sweetheart. We're all just making it up as we go." After Helen left, Lucas pulled out his phone. No messages from Lena yet, but it had only been 2 hours. Too soon to text. He should wait. Play it cool. His phone buzzed. A text from Lena. "Sophie wants to know if you're a serial killer." I told her probably not. She's not convinced. Lucas laughed and typed back. "Only on weekends. You're safe until Friday. Good to know. I'll plan accordingly." "How's Sophie?" "Annoyed that I won't tell her anything about you. Very protective. Mia's the same. Maybe they'd get along. Or kill each other." Teenagers and 3rd graders are natural enemies. Lucas hesitated, then wrote what he'd been thinking since he dropped her off. "Want to find out?" "Next Saturday. Ice skating maybe. All 4 of us." The 3 dots appeared and disappeared 3 times. That's a big step. Meeting the kids. I know. What if they hate each other? What if they don't? More dots. Lucas held his breath. "Okay. Saturday. But if this goes sideways, you're explaining to Mia why we're not coming around anymore. Deal. Downtown rink? Opens at 10. See you there." Lucas set down his phone, heart racing. He'd just committed to introducing his daughter to a woman he'd known for less than 2 weeks. A woman who'd walked into his life by accident and turned everything upside down. It was reckless and stupid and possibly the bravest thing he'd done since Emma died. He texted back, "I'm glad I sat at the wrong table." Her response came immediately. "Me too." The week crawled by like it was moving through concrete. Lucas threw himself into work, trying not to count down the hours until Saturday. He failed miserably. By Wednesday, he'd already planned 3 different conversation topics in case things got awkward. By Thursday, he'd checked the weather forecast 6 times. By Friday, he was a wreck. "You're going to give yourself a heart attack," Mike said, watching Lucas reorganize his desk for the 3rd time that morning. "I'm fine." "You alphabetized your staplers." Lucas looked down. He had, in fact, alphabetized his staplers. "I was bored." "You're terrified. There's a difference." Mike sat on the edge of the desk. "It's going to be fine. Kids are resilient. They'll either love each other or tolerate each other. Either way, you'll survive." "What if Mia hates her? Or worse, what if Lena's sister hates Mia? Then you deal with it like an adult, but you're borrowing trouble before it happens." Mike stood. "Go home early. Spend time with Mia. Prepare her." "Prepare her for what?" "For the fact that you're dating someone. That this person might become important. That things are changing." Mike headed for the door, then turned back. "And Lucas? Stop overthinking this. You like her. She likes you. The rest is just details." Lucas left work at 3 and picked Mia up from school himself. She climbed into the back seat, her backpack nearly as big as she was, and immediately started talking about her day. Something about a science project and a kid named Tyler who ate glue. "Why would anyone eat glue?" Mia asked, genuinely puzzled. "I have no idea, sweetheart. Mrs. Patterson says Tyler has poor impulse control." "What's impulse control?" "It means thinking before you do something." "Oh, Tyler definitely doesn't have that." She kicked the back of his seat absently. "Where are we going? This isn't the way home." "I thought we could get ice cream." "Again? We had ice cream on Monday." "So, there's no law against ice cream twice in 1 week." Mia narrowed her eyes. "You're acting weird again. What's going on?" Lucas pulled into the parking lot of their favorite ice cream place, a little shop that stayed open year-round despite the cold. Inside it was warm and smelled like waffle cones and sugar. Mia ordered her usual, chocolate with rainbow sprinkles, and Lucas got vanilla because he was boring. They sat in a corner booth, the kind with cracked vinyl seats and a table that wobbled. "Okay, Dad, what's this about?" Mia licked her cone with the precision of a surgeon. "What makes you think this is about something?" "Because you're doing the thing where you clear your throat a lot and won't look at me. You always do that when you have to tell me something I won't like." "When do I do that?" "When you told me we were moving after Mom died. When you said we couldn't get a puppy. When you canceled my birthday party because you had to work." She counted them off on her fingers. "Should I keep going?" Lucas set down his ice cream. "You're too smart for your own good." "I know, so what is it?" "Tomorrow, the ice skating. Lena's going to bring her sister, Sophie. She's 15. Mia stopped mid-lick. "A teenager?" "Yes." Actual teenager?" "That's what 15 means, yes." "Cool." Mia went back to her ice cream. "What's she like?" "I don't know. I haven't met her yet." "But you're dating her sister." "We're not." Lucas stopped. Were they dating? 2 lunches and constant texting. What did that constitute? "It's complicated." "It's not complicated. You like her. She likes you. That's dating." Mia said it with the confidence of someone who'd figured out all of life's mysteries. "Is she nice?" "Sophie." "Lena says she's smart, a little protective, likes true crime podcasts." "That's weird." "You like watching videos of people opening surprise eggs. We all have our things." "Those are educational, Dad. I'm learning about consumer products and marketing." "You're 8. Almost 9. They finished their ice cream and drove home as the sun started to set, turning the sky orange and pink. Mia chattered about her science project, something involving volcanoes and baking soda, while Lucas half listened and tried not to spiral into anxiety about tomorrow. At home, he made dinner. Well, he heated up leftovers and called it dinner. They ate in front of the TV, watching some show about singing competitions that Mia loved and Lucas found baffling. "Dad? Yeah? Are you happy?" With Lena? The question came out of nowhere. Lucas muted the TV. I think so. It's still new. But yeah, she makes me happy. Good. You should be happy. Mia picked at her food. I miss Mom, but I don't want you to be sad forever. Lucas felt his throat close up. I miss her too, every day. I know. But you smile more now, since you met Lena. I like when you smile. He pulled Mia into a hug, this little person who'd been through so much and somehow still had room in her heart to worry about him. I love you, kiddo. Love you too, Dad, even when you're weird about ice cream. And that night, after Mia was asleep, Lucas lay in bed staring at the ceiling. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Lena. Sophie is freaking out. About tomorrow? She thinks Mia is going to judge her. I told her Mia is 8. She said 8-year-olds are brutal. She's not wrong. Mia once told our neighbor his sweater made him look like a sad couch. Oh my God. He was wearing a brown and orange Argyle. She wasn't completely wrong. I'm dying. Okay, new plan. We teach the kids to be nice to each other, or we lock them in separate rooms. That seems illegal. Desperate times. Lucas smiled at his phone in the dark. It's going to be fine, he typed. You don't know that. You're right, I don't. But we're going to try anyway. When did you get so brave? About 5 minutes ago. It might not last. I'll take it. See you tomorrow, 10 o'clock. I'll be the one having a panic attack by the skate rental. I'll be the one right next to you. Saturday morning came too fast and not fast enough. Lucas woke up at 6, gave up on sleep at 6:30, and was showered and dressed by 7. He made pancakes for Mia, burned the first batch, and nearly set off the smoke alarm. Are you okay? Mia asked, watching him scrape charcoal into the trash. I'm great. Perfect. Fine. You're a mess. Accurate. The second batch of pancakes turned out better. They ate breakfast while Mia told him in excruciating detail about her friend Zoe's new hamster and whether they should get a hamster and why hamsters were superior to all other pets. What about Cooper? Lucas asked. Mia looked at their half-bald dog, who was lying on his back with his legs in the air, snoring. Cooper is great, but he's not a hamster. Can't argue with that logic. They arrived at the ice rink 15 minutes early. Lucas had never been good at being on time. He was either absurdly early or fashionably late. No middle ground. The rink was already busy. Families and couples and groups of teenagers all lacing up skates and wobbling onto the ice. There they are, Mia said, pointing. Lucas turned. Lena stood by the entrance, wearing a purple coat and a hat with a pom-pom on top that should have looked ridiculous, but somehow didn't. Next to her was a tall girl with dark hair and an expression that suggested she'd rather be anywhere else. Sophie. She had earbuds in and was staring at her phone like it held the secrets of the universe. Ready? Lucas asked Mia. Ready? They walked over. Lena saw them and smiled, the kind of smile that made Lucas's chest do something complicated. Hi, she said. Hi. This is awkward, isn't it? So awkward. Sophie pulled out one earbud. Are you Lucas? I am. You must be Sophie. Unfortunately. She looked at Mia. You're the kid. I'm Mia. I'm not just the kid. I have a name. Sophie's eyebrow went up. Fair enough. Sorry. I'm Sophie. I'm the moody teenager. Do you really listen to murder podcasts? Yeah, you into that? I'm 8. My dad won't let me listen to murder stuff. Probably smart. They're pretty dark. Sophie looked at Lucas. Your dad seems okay. He's weird sometimes, but he's good at pancakes when he doesn't burn them. Lena laughed. Sophie's good at making instant ramen and complaining about homework. We all have our talents. They got their skates. Mia needed the smallest size. Sophie complained hers were ugly. Lucas couldn't remember the last time he'd been skating and found a bench to lace up. Mia struggled with her laces until Sophie knelt down and helped her, showing her how to crisscross them properly. Like this, see? Tight at the ankle, looser at the top. Thanks. Mia looked up at Sophie with something approaching awe. You're really tall. Yeah, I get that a lot. I want to be tall. Give it time. You're 8. You've got years to grow. Almost 9. Sophie grinned. Almost 9. My mistake. They stepped onto the ice. Mia took off immediately, fearless in the way only kids could be, arms windmilling as she nearly crashed into the boards. Lucas grabbed the wall, his ankles already protesting. Lena glided up next to him with an ease that made him jealous. "You're good at this," he said. "I used to skate competitively, 1,000,000 years ago." "Seriously?" "For like 2 years in middle school, before I realized I was terrible at competitions and good at falling on my face." She pushed off, skating backwards. "Come on, you can't just hug the wall all day." "I absolutely can." "Where's your sense of adventure?" "I left it in the car." Lena laughed and grabbed his hand, pulling him away from the wall. He stumbled, caught himself, and somehow managed not to fall flat on his face. They skated in slow, awkward circles, Lena patient as he remembered how his legs worked. Across the rink, Sophie was teaching Mia how to skate backwards. Mia was terrible at it, falling every few seconds, but she kept getting up and trying again. Sophie caught her before she could hit the ice too hard, steady and careful in a way that suggested she'd been taking care of people for a long time. "They're doing okay," Lena said. "Better than okay." Lucas watched Mia laugh at something Sophie said. Her face lit up with joy. "Sophie's good with her. She's good with kids. Always has been. Probably because she basically raised herself while I was trying to figure out how to be a parent. You were a kid yourself." 21. Not exactly a kid, but not ready for this either. Lena's hand tightened in his. "I made so many mistakes that first year. Forgot to sign her up for school on time. Fed her cereal for dinner more nights than I want to admit. Cried in the bathroom because I had no idea what I was doing." "Sounds familiar?" "Yeah. I fed Mia McDonald's for a week straight after Emma died because I couldn't figure out how to cook and keep her alive at the same time. She didn't complain once, just ate her Happy Meals and told me it was okay. They're resilient. They shouldn't have to be." They skated in silence for a while, just holding hands and moving in slow circles. Around them, people laughed and fell and got back up. The rink music played something upbeat and forgettable. The sun came through the windows in long slants, turning the ice gold. "This is nice," Lena said finally. "It is. Terrifying, but nice. The best things usually are." Mia skated over, moving faster than was probably safe, and crashed into Lucas's legs. He caught her before they both went down. "Did you see me? I almost did a spin." "I saw. Very impressive. Sophie says if I practice, I could be really good. Can we come back next week?" "Maybe. We'll see." "That's parent code for no," Sophie said, gliding up behind Mia. "Trust me, I speak fluent parent." "It's parent code for let me check my schedule, Toots," Lucas corrected. "Sure it is." Sophie looked at Lena. "Can we get hot chocolate? I'm freezing." "You're always freezing." "Because it's winter and we're on ice. Basic thermodynamics." They left the rink and found a cafe nearby, one of those places that tried too hard to be cozy with Edison bulbs and reclaimed wood everywhere. They squeezed into a corner table, the four of them barely fitting, and ordered hot chocolate that came with an obscene amount of whipped cream. "This is like drinking a cloud," Mia said, her face already covered in white foam. "A delicious cloud," Sophie agreed. They fell into easy conversation. Sophie asked Mia about school, Mia asked Sophie about high school, and somehow they ended up in a debate about whether dolphins or octopuses were smarter. "Octopuses," Sophie said firmly. "They can open jars and escape from tanks. Dolphins just do tricks." "But dolphins save people," Mia countered. "I saw it on a documentary. The octopuses have 3 hearts. That's objectively cooler. Dolphins have sonar. Octopuses can camouflage themselves." Lucas and Lena exchanged a look across the table. "Should we stop this?" Lucas asked quietly. "Why? They're bonding." "Over marine biology? I've seen worse." Lena sipped her hot chocolate. "Besides, Sophie hasn't been this animated in months. Usually she just grunts at me. Mia's the same. I count it as a win when I get full sentences." The debate continued. Eventually they reached a truce. Both dolphins and octopuses were impressive in their own ways, and they'd agree to disagree. Sophie pulled out her phone and showed Mia a video of an octopus solving a puzzle. Mia retaliated with a video of dolphins playing with bubbles. "They're going to be friends," Lena said softly. "Think so?" "I know so," Look at them. Lucas looked. Mia was leaning over Sophie's phone, pointing at something on the screen, talking a mile a minute. Sophie was listening, actually listening, nodding and asking questions. They'd completely forgotten about the adults at the table. This was a good idea, Lucas said. It was a terrifying idea that turned out okay. There's a difference. I'll take it. They stayed at the cafe until Mia started to fade, her energy crashing after the morning of skating. Sophie wasn't much better, stifling yawns behind her hand. They walked back to the parking lot together, the cold biting at their faces. Can Sophie come over sometime? Mia asked as they reached Lucas's car. I want to show her my rock collection. You have a rock collection? Sophie looked interested. It's very extensive. I have 47 rocks, all labeled. That's actually kind of cool. I know, right? Mia turned to Lucas. So, can she? Lucas looked at Lena, who shrugged. If it's okay with Lena, it's okay with me. Sophie? Lena asked. Yeah, okay. Rocks sound good. They made plans for the following weekend. Mia chattered about which rocks she'd show Sophie first, while Sophie pretended to be less interested than she clearly was. Lucas and Lena stood by the cars, not quite ready to say goodbye. This went well, Lena said. It did. I was so nervous I almost threw up this morning. Same. Burned pancakes and everything. We're a mess. The best kind of mess. Lucas reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Can I see you this week? Without the kids? Like a date? Exactly like a date. Okay, when? Wednesday, dinner? Wednesday works. They stood there, close enough to kiss, not quite closing the distance. Around them, the parking lot was busy with families loading into cars, kids screaming, car doors slamming. Normal Saturday chaos. I should go, Lena said, not moving. You should. Sophie's watching. Mia too. They're going to give us so much grief. Probably. Lena leaned up and kissed him. Quick and light, but enough to make his heart stutter. When she pulled back, she was smiling. Wednesday, 7 o'clock. Pick me up? I'll be there. She walked back to where Sophie was waiting by their bus stop, the two of them huddled against the cold. Lucas got in his car where Mia was already buckled in, grinning like she'd won the lottery. You kissed her. I didn't. She kissed me. Same thing. You like her. I do. And I like Sophie. She's weird, but in a good way. That's high praise coming from you. I know, I'm very particular. Mia settled back in her seat. So, are we going to see them again? Next weekend, if you want. I want. Can I show Sophie my rocks and my fossil collection and the trilobite I found last summer? You can show her whatever you want, sweetheart. The drive home was quiet, Mia falling asleep in the back seat despite it being barely 2 in the afternoon. Lucas carried her inside and laid her on the couch, covering her with the blanket Emma had crocheted years ago. Cooper jumped up and curled next to her, his patchy fur making him look like a stuffed animal that had been through a war. Lucas's phone buzzed. A text from Lena. Sophie says Mia is actually pretty cool for a little kid. That's the highest compliment she gives. Mia says Sophie is weird but in a good way. I'll take it. How are you? Good, tired, happy, same. Today was good. It was. Thank you for suggesting it. Thank you for saying yes. I know it was a risk. The best things usually are. Lucas smiled at his phone, at this conversation that felt easy and right in a way nothing had in years. He thought about texting something profound, something that captured the strange, scary, wonderful thing that was happening between them. Instead, he just wrote, "See you Wednesday. Can't wait." The week passed in a blur of work and school and the mundane tasks of daily life. Lucas and Lena texted constantly. Good morning messages, random thoughts throughout the day, pictures of stupid things that made them laugh. Mia asked about Sophie every day, a constant stream of questions about what she liked and whether she'd want to see Mia's rock collection or if that was too boring. Rocks aren't boring, Lucas assured her for the 5th time. But what if she thinks they are? What if she was just being nice? Then she was being nice, but I don't think she was lying. She seemed genuinely interested. You think? I know. Wednesday arrived cold and clear. Lucas left work early, went home and showered, and changed his shirt 3 times before settling on the blue one. Again. Mia watched from his bedroom doorway, eating an apple. "You're wearing the blue shirt again. It's a good shirt. It's the only shirt you ever wear on dates." "I've been on 2 dates. That's not enough to establish a pattern." 3 dates. Romano's counts even if it was an accident. Lucas couldn't argue with that. He grabbed his coat and his wallet, checked his hair in the mirror, and headed for the door. "Have fun," Mia called after him. "Don't be weird." "No promises." Helen was already there to watch Mia, settled on the couch with a book and a cup of tea. She looked up when Lucas came down the stairs. "You clean up nice." "It's just dinner." "Uh-huh," Helen smiled. "Have a good time. Don't rush back." The drive to Lena's apartment took 30 minutes in rush hour traffic. Lucas parked on the street, fed quarters into the meter, and climbed the stairs to her building. He knocked on apartment 3B and heard muffled voices inside, then Sophie yelling something about privacy. The door opened. Lena stood there in a black dress that made Lucas forget how to breathe. "Hi," she said. "Hi, you look, wow. That good or that bad?" "That good? Definitely that good." She grabbed her coat, called goodbye to Sophie, and they headed down the stairs. In the car, she turned to him. "Where are we going?" "There's a place downtown. Italian. I made a reservation." "Fancy." "A little. Is that okay?" "It's perfect." She settled back in her seat. "How was your week?" "Long. Meetings and spreadsheets and putting out fires. You?" "Same, except instead of spreadsheets, it's court hearings and home visits and watching people fail their kids in new and creative ways." "Rough week?" "The worst." She was quiet for a moment. "I had to remove a kid from her home yesterday, 3 years old, bruises everywhere. Parents claimed she fell down the stairs." "Did she?" "No, and they knew I knew, but they looked me right in the eye and lied anyway." Lena's voice went hard. "I wanted to scream at them, tell them they didn't deserve her, that they were monsters, but I couldn't. I just had to document everything and follow procedure and act like a professional." "That sounds impossible." "Some days it is." She looked at him. "Sorry, that's heavy for a date." "You don't have to apologize. This is your life. I want to know about it." "Even the ugly parts?" "Especially those." The restaurant was nicer than Lucas had intended. White tablecloths, actual wine glasses, waiters in vests. They were seated by a window overlooking the city, lights twinkling in the dark. "This is beautiful," Lena said. "I might have overdone it." "You definitely overdid it, but I'm not complaining." They ordered wine and appetizers and fell into conversation the way they always did, easy and natural. Lena told him about Sophie's latest drama, a fight with her best friend over something that sounded trivial but clearly wasn't to 15-year-old girls. Lucas told her about Mia's science project, which had somehow evolved from a volcano to a full-scale model of the solar system made from styrofoam balls and coat hangers. "She's very ambitious," Lena said. "She has no concept of scale or her own limitations. It's going to be a disaster. But a fun disaster. The best kind." The food came, pasta for Lena, chicken for Lucas, and they ate while the restaurant buzzed around them. At the next table, a couple was fighting in whispers. Across the room, someone proposed and the whole restaurant applauded. Normal restaurant things. "Can I ask you something?" Lena set down her fork. "Sure." "What are we doing? Like, really doing?" Lucas took a sip of wine, buying time. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we're dating, obviously. But is this serious? Are we just having fun? Are we heading somewhere or just seeing what happens?" "I don't know." "What do you want it to be?" "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have." Lucas leaned back. "Lena, I haven't done this in over 4 years. I don't know the rules anymore. I don't know how fast to move or what to say or when to have conversations like this. There are no rules. Then why does it feel like I'm constantly breaking them?" She smiled. "Because you care. And that's scary. Terrifying." "Good. Me too." She reached across the table and took his hand. "For the record, I think this is serious. Or it could be if we let it." "I want to let it." "Yeah? Yeah, but I'm scared I'll mess it up. That I'll do something wrong and you'll realize you can do better." "Lucas, I'm a social worker raising a teenager on a salary that barely covers rent. I eat ramen 3 nights a week, and my car is held together with duct tape and hope. You could definitely do better than me. I don't want better. I want you. The words hung between them. Lena's eyes went bright. That was really honest. I'm trying. I can see that. She squeezed his hand. I want you too. Even though you're a widower with a kid and a half-bald dog and probably more emotional baggage than I can handle. Cooper's hair is growing back. Is it though? Slowly, in patches. They both laughed and the tension broke. The rest of dinner passed in easy conversation, both of them relaxing into the reality of what they were admitting. This wasn't casual. This wasn't just fun. This was real and complicated and worth the risk. Lucas paid the check despite Lena's protests, and they walked out into the cold night. The city was alive around them, people spilling out of bars and restaurants, taxis honking, sirens wailing in the distance. I don't want this to end, Lena said. It doesn't have to. Come back to my place. Meet Cooper officially, have terrible coffee, and watch whatever's on TV. That sounds perfect. The drive home took 20 minutes. They pulled up to Lucas's house. Modest, suburban, the kind of place that screamed single dad trying his best, and went inside. Helen was still there, reading on the couch while Mia slept upstairs. You're back early, Helen said, standing. Traffic was good. Lucas helped her with her coat. Thanks for watching her. Any time, sweetheart. Helen looked at Lena. You must be Lena. I've heard a lot about you. All good things, I hope. The best things. Helen smiled warmly. I'm Helen, Emma's mother. There was a moment of silence, the air suddenly thick with unspoken things. Lena straightened, meeting Helen's eyes directly. It's nice to meet you. Lucas speaks very highly of you. He better. I raised his daughter half the time. Helen pulled on her coat. Be good to him. He deserves it. I will. After Helen left, Lucas and Lena stood in the living room, suddenly awkward. That was intense, Lena said. Helen doesn't mess around. I like her. She liked you too. Trust me, if she didn't, you'd know. Cooper wandered in from the kitchen, his patchy fur sticking up at odd angles. He sniffed Lena's leg, decided she was acceptable, and flopped down on her feet. That's Cooper, Lucas said. He's unique. That's a nice way of saying he looks like he lost a fight with a lawnmower. I was trying to be polite. Lena bent down and scratched Cooper's ears. He groaned with pleasure. But yeah, he's seen better days. They settled on the couch with coffee. That was, as promised, terrible. Lucas turned on the TV and found some cooking competition show neither of them cared about. They sat close enough that their legs touched, not quite cuddling, but not quite not. This is nice, Lena said. It is. Domestic. Is that bad? No, just different. I'm used to my apartment where Sophie's always listening to music too loud, and the neighbors fight at 2 a.m, and nothing's ever quiet. You can come here anytime you want quiet. Careful, I might take you up on that. I hope you do. They watched TV in comfortable silence until Lena's phone rang. She checked it and frowned. It's Sophie. I should take this. Of course. She stepped into the kitchen. Lucas could hear her side of the conversation, reassuring, patient, the voice of someone who'd had to be the grown-up too young. When she came back, her expression was troubled. Everything okay? Sophie's freaking out about a test tomorrow. She does this sometimes, convinces herself she's going to fail even though she always does fine. Do you need to go? I should. I'm sorry. This was perfect and now I'm cutting it short. Don't apologize. She needs you. She always needs me. Lena grabbed her coat. Sometimes I wish she didn't. Is that terrible? It's human. Lucas drove her home. The street's quiet this late. At her building, she turned to him before getting out. Thank you for tonight, for everything. Thank you for saying yes. I'm glad I did. She leaned over and kissed him, longer this time, her hand on his cheek. When she pulled back, she was smiling. I'll call you tomorrow. I'll be waiting. He watched her climb the stairs and disappear inside, then sat in his car for a long moment, his lips still tingling. His phone buzzed. A text from Lena. I forgot to tell you, I got a job offer today. Big firm in Boston. More money, better benefits, actual career advancement. Lucas stared at the text, his stomach dropping. That's amazing, he typed, even though his hands were shaking. When do you start? The response came after a long pause. I have until after Christmas to decide. It's a lot to think about. Yeah, it is. I'm sorry. I should have told you at dinner. Don't apologize. This is huge. It is. And I don't know what to do. Lucas sat in his car outside her building, staring at his phone, and felt the ground shift beneath him. They'd just admitted this was serious, that they wanted it to be real. And now she might be leaving. He typed and deleted 3 responses before settling on, "We'll figure it out." Will we? I don't know. But we'll try. Okay. Good night, Lucas. Good night. He drove home in a daze, his mind spinning. Inside, the house was quiet. He checked on Mia, asleep, sprawled across her bed with Cooper at her feet, and then went to his own room. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, Lena's text burning in his mind. Boston. 3 hours away. A different life, a future that didn't include him. His phone buzzed again. I don't want to go, but I have to think about Sophie. This job could change everything for us. I know. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just think about it. Really think about it. I will. I promise. Lucas set down his phone and closed his eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. Outside, snow started to fall, soft and silent, covering everything in white. The next 2 weeks moved in slow motion and light speed all at once. Lucas and Lena kept seeing each other. Dinners, coffee, walks through the city while snow fell around them. But the job offer sat between them like a third person at every table. They didn't talk about it directly, both of them dancing around the elephant in the room, pretending everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. You're distracted, Mike said, dropping a file on Lucas's desk. The Henderson contract. You said you'd review it yesterday. I'll get to it. You said that 3 days ago. Mike sat down. What's going on? Is this about Lena? Lucas rubbed his face. He'd slept maybe 4 hours, his mind spinning with scenarios that all ended badly. She got a job offer in Boston. Oh, that's far. Yeah. What's she going to do? I don't know. She won't talk about it. Lucas spun his chair toward the window. Outside, the city looked gray and cold, the kind of December that made you wonder why anyone lived this far north. She keeps saying she has to think about Sophie, about their future. And she's right. It's a great opportunity. Better money, better benefits. I can't ask her to turn it down. Did she ask you to? No. Then maybe you should tell her how you feel. And say what? Don't take your dream job because we've been dating for 3 weeks? That's selfish. It's honest. Mike leaned forward. Look, I don't know what the right answer is, but I know you're miserable, and she's probably miserable, and neither of you is talking about it. That's a recipe for disaster. Lucas knew Mike was right, but knowing something and doing something about it were 2 very different things. That night, Lena came over for dinner. Lucas had spent an hour making pasta, actual cooking, not heating up leftovers, and the kitchen looked like a bomb had gone off. Mia set the table with the kind of precision she usually reserved for her rock collection, making sure the forks were exactly parallel to the knives. Why are we being fancy? She asked. We're not being fancy. We're just having dinner. You made real food. We're never fancy unless someone's coming over or it's Thanksgiving. Lena's coming over. Exactly. Fancy. Mia adjusted a napkin. Are you going to ask her to stay? Stay for what? Stay here, not go to Boston. Lucas stopped stirring the sauce. How do you know about Boston? I heard you on the phone with Grandma Helen. You weren't exactly quiet. Mia looked up at him. Are you going to ask her? I can't do that. Why not? Because it's not fair. She has to make the best choice for her and Sophie. But what if you're the best choice? I'm not, kiddo. A job in Boston is a sure thing. I'm just a guy she met by accident. Mia frowned. That's dumb. Language. It's still dumb. The doorbell rang before Lucas could respond. He opened it to find Lena on his porch, her coat dusted with fresh snow, holding a bottle of wine that probably cost more than she could afford. Hi, she said. Hi. You didn't have to bring anything. I know, I wanted to. She stepped inside and he took her coat. Something smells amazing. Dad cooked real food, Mia announced from the dining room. It's a special occasion. Mia, what? It is. Dinner was good, or at least Lucas thought it was. He barely tasted anything, too aware of Lena sitting across from him, too conscious of the countdown clock ticking in his head. She had to decide by Christmas. That was 8 days away. Mia chattered through the meal, telling Lena about her solar system project and how Jupiter kept falling off because the styrofoam ball was too heavy. Lena listened like it was the most important thing she'd ever heard, asking questions and offering suggestions that Mia immediately rejected. I have a system, Lena. You can't mess with the system. My apologies. The system is clearly working great. Thank you. After dinner, Mia disappeared upstairs to work on her homework, leaving Lucas and Lena alone in the kitchen. They cleaned up in silence, the only sound the clink of dishes and the running water. She's great, Lena said finally. She likes you. She doesn't like most people. I'm honored. Lena dried a plate, set it in the cabinet. Lucas, we need to talk. I know. I got the formal offer letter today. They need an answer by Friday. Lucas's hand stilled in the soapy water. That's in 3 days. I know. And I don't know what to do. Lena set down the towel. The money's good, really good. Sophie could go to a better school. We could afford a real apartment, not the shoebox we're in now. I could actually save for her college instead of just hoping she gets scholarships. That sounds like you've already decided. It sounds like I'm being practical. There's a difference. Lucas dried his hands and turned to face her. What do you want me to say? I don't know. Something. Anything. You've been so quiet about this, and I can't tell if you don't care or if you care too much to say it. I care, of course I care. Then tell me. Help me figure this out. I can't tell you what to do, Lena. This is your life, your sister, your decision. But you're part of my life now. Doesn't that count for something? Lucas felt something crack in his chest. Of course it counts. But I can't be the reason you turn down a better future. What if you resent me for it later? What if Sophie does? What if I take it and regret leaving you? Then at least you'd have the job. He stopped, searching for words. I'm not a sure thing, Lena. We've known each other for less than a month. This could fall apart tomorrow. Do you think it will? No, but I can't promise it won't. Lena wrapped her arms around herself. So what are we doing? Just waiting for the inevitable? I don't know. That's not good enough, Lucas. It's all I have. They stood in his kitchen, the space between them feeling like miles. Upstairs, Mia's music played softly, some pop song about heartbreak that felt way too on the nose. I should go, Lena said. Don't, please stay. We can watch a movie or just sit, or I can't. I need to think. She grabbed her coat from the hook by the door. I'll call you tomorrow. Lena, I'm not angry. I'm just confused. And I need to figure this out without you looking at me like that. Like what? Like you're trying not to ask me to stay, but you want to anyway. She kissed his cheek. I'll call you. Then she was gone, the door closing behind her with a soft click. Lucas stood there for a long moment, staring at nothing, feeling like he'd just failed a test he hadn't known he was taking. That sounded bad, Mia said from the stairs. It was bad. Are you going to fix it? I don't know how. You could tell her you love her. Lucas looked at his daughter, this 8-year-old who saw things too clearly. I don't love her. It's too soon. You love her enough to let her go. That counts. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just don't listen. Mia came down the stairs and hugged him. It'll be okay, Dad. You don't know that. I believe it anyway. The next day, Lucas buried himself in work. He reviewed contracts, attended meetings, responded to emails with an efficiency that bordered on manic. Mike watched him from across the office, but didn't comment, which Lucas appreciated more than he could say. At 3, his phone rang, unknown number. Hello? Mr. Hayes? This is Principal Morrison from Riverside Elementary. Lucas's heart stopped. Is Mia okay? She's fine, but there's been an incident. Can you come to the school? He was there in 15 minutes, breaking at least 3 traffic laws. Principal Morrison met him in her office, a tired-looking woman in her 50s who'd probably seen it all. Mia got into a fight, she said. A fight? Mia? With Tyler. The boy who eats glue. What happened? According to witnesses, Tyler made a comment about you dating someone. Mia took exception. She pushed him. He pushed back. It escalated. Lucas rubbed his temples. Is Tyler okay? He's fine. Mia pulled his hair, but no real damage. Morrison folded her hands. Mr. Hayes, I know things have been difficult, losing her mother, adjusting to changes, but Mia needs to learn to control her temper. I know. I'll talk to her. I'm giving her in-school suspension for tomorrow. This is her first offense, so we're being lenient. Lucas found Mia in the nurse's office, sitting on the examination table with an ice pack on her knuckles. She looked up when he came in, defiant and ashamed all at once. I'm sorry, she said. What happened? Tyler said you were dating a gold digger who was going to steal all our money and leave. I told him to shut up. He didn't, so I pushed him. Mia, I know, I shouldn't have, but he was being mean about Lena, and she's not like that. She's nice and she makes you happy, and Tyler doesn't know anything. Lucas sat on the table next to her. You're right. Tyler doesn't know anything, but you can't hit people when they're wrong. Why not? Because that's not how we solve problems. How do we solve them then? With words, by being the bigger person, by walking away. Mia's face crumpled. I don't want Lena to leave. I know, sweetheart. I don't either. Then ask her to stay. It's not that simple. Why not? You like her. She likes you. She likes me. I like her. Sophie's okay. What else matters? Money matters. Jobs matter. Sophie's future matters. But we matter too, right? Lucas pulled his daughter into a hug. We matter. Of course we matter. They sat there for a long time, the nurse discreetly leaving them alone. When Mia finally pulled back, her eyes were red. Are you mad at me? For the fight? I'm disappointed, but I'm not mad. What's the difference? Mad goes away. Disappointed sticks around until you do better. That's worse. It is. But it also means I believe you can do better. They drove home in silence. Lucas made Mia a snack she didn't eat, then sent her upstairs to start her homework. He sat at the kitchen table, staring at his phone, trying to figure out what to say to Lena. His phone rang first, her name on the screen. Hi, he answered. Hi, bad time? Never a bad time. I made my decision. Her voice was flat, careful. I'm taking the job. The words hit him like a physical blow. Oh. I have to, Lucas. It's the smart choice, the responsible choice. Sophie needs stability, and this gives us that. I understand. Do you? No, but I'm trying to. Silence on the other end, then. I'm sorry. Don't be. You're doing what's right for your family. And what about us? There is no us if you go to Boston. Not really. Long distance doesn't work. You know that. So that's it? We just give up? Lucas closed his eyes. I'm not giving up. I'm being realistic. Realistic is just another word for scared. Maybe I am scared. Maybe I'm terrified. But that doesn't change the fact that you're leaving. I don't want to fight with you. I don't want to fight either. He took a breath. When do you leave? After New Year's. I need to give my current job notice, pack, get Sophie enrolled in a new school. That's soon. I know. Can I see you before you go? Lucas, please, just once more. Let me say goodbye properly. Another silence. Longer this time. Okay. Saturday. The day before Christmas Eve, bye. Thank you. Don't thank me. This is killing me too. She hung up. Lucas sat at his kitchen table until it got dark outside. Until Mia came down and asked about dinner, until he had to pull himself together and pretend his world wasn't falling apart. The next few days were a blur. Lucas went through the motions. Work, Mia, Cooper, repeat, while his mind stayed stuck on Saturday, on goodbye, on the fact that he'd finally found someone who understood him and now she was leaving. Friday night, he got a call from Mike. You sound like death, Mike said without preamble. Thanks. I'm serious. Jen's worried about you. So am I. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're losing someone you care about and pretending it doesn't matter. It matters. Of course it matters. But what am I supposed to do? Beg her to stay? Offer her something I can't guarantee? I'm not going to be that guy. What guy? The guy who makes promises he can't keep, who asks someone to sacrifice their future for a maybe. You think that's what this is? A maybe? Lucas didn't answer. Lucas, I've known you for 7 years. I watched you grieve Emma. I watched you barely hold it together for Mia. And in the last month, I've watched you come back to life. Because of Lena. That's not a maybe. That's a definitely. It doesn't matter if it's definitely. She's still leaving. Then go with her. The suggestion was so unexpected, Lucas almost laughed. What? Go with her. Move to Boston. Start over. I can't do that. I have the company here. Mia has school, friends, Helen. The company can run remotely. You know that. Mia's 8. She'll make new friends. And Helen would want you to be happy. You're insane. I'm practical. You're the one being insane, letting her walk away without a fight. After Mike hung up, Lucas lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the idea rattling around in his head. Move to Boston. Leave everything behind. Start fresh. It was crazy. It was impossible. It was maybe the only option that made sense. Saturday arrived cold and miserable, freezing rain turning the roads into skating rinks. Lucas dropped Mia at Helen's. She was spending the night, excited about making Christmas cookies, and drove to meet Lena at their spot, Moretti's, where they'd had their first real date. She was already there when he arrived, sitting in the same booth, looking tired and beautiful and sad. Hi, she said. Hi. They ordered coffee neither of them wanted and sat in awkward silence. Outside, the freezing rain came down harder, coating everything in ice. I leave Tuesday, Lena said finally. That fast? They want me to start January 2nd. I need time to find a place, get Sophie settled. She stirred her coffee. This is really happening. Yeah. Say something, please. Lucas looked at her, at this woman who'd crashed into his life and changed everything. Come with me, he said. What? Not you come with me. Me come with you to Boston. Lena stared. Lucas, what are you talking about? I can run the company remotely. Mike can handle the day-to-day here. Mia can transfer schools. We can start over. Together. You can't just uproot your entire life for me. Why not? You'd be uprooting yours for a job. At least this way we'd be together. That's insane. It is. Completely insane, but I don't care. Lucas reached across the table and took her hands. I can't watch you leave. I can't say goodbye and pretend I'll be okay. Because I won't be. I'll be miserable. And Mia will ask about you. And I'll have to explain that sometimes people leave and there's nothing you can do about it. And I don't want to tell her that. I don't want to believe that. Lucas, I know it's fast, I know it's crazy, but when have we ever done anything the normal way? We met by accident. We fell for each other in 3 weeks. Why should this be any different? Lena's eyes were bright with tears. What about Helen? What about everything you've built here? Helen will understand. And what I've built doesn't matter if I'm alone. He squeezed her hands. I'm not asking you to choose between the job and me. I'm asking you to let me choose both. With you. This is a huge decision. I know, and I'm making it, right now. I want to go with you. She pulled her hands back, wiping her eyes. I need to think about this. Okay? No, I mean, really think. This isn't just about us anymore. It's about Mia and Sophie and 2 entire lives getting tangled together. What if it doesn't work? What if we get to Boston and realize we've made a terrible mistake? Then we'll deal with it. Together. You make it sound so simple. It's not simple. It's terrifying. But I'd rather be terrified with you than safe without you. Lena stood abruptly. I need air. They walked outside into the freezing rain, both of them getting soaked within seconds. The parking lot was empty except for their cars, the world reduced to just the 2 of them and the ice falling from the sky. This is crazy, Lena said, her voice barely audible over the rain. I know. We barely know each other. I know that too. But I don't want to lose you. Then don't. She looked at him, rain streaming down her face, and Lucas saw the exact moment she decided. She stepped forward and kissed him, hard and desperate and real. He kissed her back, his hands in her wet hair, tasting rain and salt and possibility. When they pulled apart, they were both shaking. "Okay," she said. "Okay? Okay, come to Boston. Uproot your life. Let's be insane together." Lucas laughed, the sound breaking out of him like a dam bursting. "Really? Really? But we're telling Sophie and Mia together. And if they veto this, we listen. Deal." They stood in the freezing rain, holding each other, until Lena's phone rang. She pulled it out, water dripping on the screen. "It's Sophie," she answered. "Hey, what's—" Her expression changed. "What? Slow down. What happened?" Lucas watched her face go pale. "Where are you?" "Okay. Stay there. I'm coming." She hung up. "I have to go." Sophie was at a friend's house. The friend's brother gave them a ride home, but they got stuck on Route 9. The roads are too icy. She's scared. Route 9, the highway where Emma died, where Lucas hadn't driven in 4 years. "I'll take you," he heard himself say. "Lucas, you don't have to—" "Yes, I do. Come on." They ran to his car. Lucas started the engine, his hands steady even as his heart raced. Route 9. He was going to Route 9. "Are you sure about this?" Lena asked. "No, but I'm doing it anyway." The drive was terrifying. The roads were sheets of ice, cars abandoned on the shoulder, emergency lights flashing in the distance. Lucas drove slowly, carefully, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. Every mile felt like 10. Every curve felt like the one where Emma had died. "There," Lena pointed. "That's the car." A sedan was pulled over on the shoulder, hazards on. Sophie stood next to it, her arms wrapped around herself. When she saw them, relief flooded her face. Lucas pulled over carefully. Lena jumped out and ran to her sister. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" "I'm fine. Just scared." The car started sliding and Jaden pulled over before we crashed. "But now we can't move. The ice is too bad." Lucas got out and approached the driver, a kid who couldn't have been more than 16, looking terrified. "You did the right thing," Lucas told him. "Pulling over, calling for help. That took guts." "My dad's going to kill me. I wasn't supposed to be out in this." "Your dad's going to be glad you're alive. Come on, I'll give you all a ride home." They piled into Lucas's car, Sophie and the kid in back, Lena in front, and Lucas started driving. The roads hadn't improved. If anything, they were worse. He drove 10 miles under the speed limit, aware of every patch of ice, every slight drift of the car. "Thank you," Sophie said quietly, "for coming to get us." "Of course," Lucas said. "You called. We came. Lena told me about Boston, about you coming with us." Lucas glanced in the rearview mirror. Sophie was watching him with the same sharp intelligence as her sister. "What do you think about that?" he asked. "I think you're either really brave or really stupid. Maybe both." "Probably both." Sophie was quiet for a moment. "Lena's been happier since she met you. I haven't seen her like this in years, so I guess that counts for something." "Thanks, Sophie." "Don't thank me yet. If you hurt her, I know where to hide a body." "Sophie!" Lena turned around. "What?" "I'm just being honest. It's what you're always telling me to be." Lucas laughed despite everything. "Fair enough. Message received." He dropped the kid off first. Jaden, who thanked him profusely and promised to drive more carefully. Then he took Sophie and Lena home. At their building, Sophie got out quickly. "I'm giving you 2 privacy," she announced, "but not too much privacy. Lena, you have 10 minutes. Then she was gone, leaving them alone in the car. "She's something," Lucas said. "She's protective and scared. This is a lot of change for her." "I know, but we'll figure it out." Lena turned to him. "You drove Route 9, for me, for Sophie, and for you, and because it was time. That must have been terrifying." "It was, but I did it anyway. That's what we do, right? The terrifying things, because they matter." "I love you," Lena said suddenly. "I know it's too soon and we're supposed to wait longer before saying that, but I don't care. I love you, Lucas Hayes." Lucas felt his chest tighten, then expand, like he'd been holding his breath for years and finally remembered how to breathe. "I love you too," he said. "I think I have since you sat down at the wrong table." They kissed in his car, in front of her building, while freezing rain fell and turned the world into glass. When they pulled apart, Lena was crying. "Happy tears," she clarified. "I promise. Good. I've had enough of the other kind. Me too. She got out of the car, then leaned back through the door. Boston, she said. Boston, he confirmed. Together. Together. She shut the door and ran inside, and Lucas sat in his car watching until she was safe. Then he drove home through the ice and the dark, feeling lighter than he had in years. On his phone, a text from Mia. Grandma Helen says you did something brave today. Did you fix it with Lena? He smiled and typed back, I'm trying, sweetheart. I'm really trying. Good. I believe in you. I love you, Mia. Love you too, Dad. Don't mess this up. I won't. He hoped like hell he was telling the truth. Lucas woke up Sunday morning to his phone ringing. 5:30 in the morning, the sky still dark outside. He fumbled for it, his heart already racing with that specific terror that comes from early morning calls. Hello? Lucas, it's Helen. Don't panic. His heart stopped. What happened? Mia's fine. She's here with me, but I got a call from Sophie about 20 minutes ago. Lena's in the hospital. Lucas was out of bed before Helen finished the sentence. What? Why? What happened? Calm down. She's okay. Sophie said something about chest pains in the ER. She called me because she didn't want to worry you, which is ridiculous, but teenagers have their own logic. I'm coming to get Mia, then I'm going to the hospital. I'll have her ready. Lucas drove to Helen's house in record time, his mind spinning through every worst-case scenario. Heart attack, stroke, something catastrophic that would take Lena away just when he'd decided to build a life with her. The universe couldn't be that cruel, could it? Helen met him at the door with Mia already dressed, her backpack on. I'm coming with you, Mia announced. Sweetheart, you should stay here. No, Lena might need us. I'm coming. Lucas looked at Helen, who shrugged. She's stubborn. Wonder where she gets it. They made it to the hospital in 15 minutes. Lucas parked illegally and didn't care. Inside, the ER was the special kind of chaos that only happened on weekend mornings. People sleeping in chairs, a drunk guy arguing with security, fluorescent lights making everyone look half dead. Lucas found the registration desk. Lena Hart. She came in, I don't know when, chest pains. The nurse checked her computer with agonizing slowness. She's in examination room 4, but visiting hours don't start until I'm her fiancé. The lie came out automatically. The nurse looked at him, then at Mia clutching his hand, and her expression softened. Down the hall, take a left. Room 4. They found it. Sophie was sitting outside, her legs pulled up to her chest, still wearing pajamas under her coat. Sophie, Lucas said. She looked up, her face streaked with tears. I didn't know who else to call. I tried her boss, but it's Sunday, and I couldn't just sit here alone. Lucas sat down next to her. You did the right thing. What happened? She woke up at like 4 saying her chest hurt. She couldn't breathe right. I called 911 and they brought us here, and nobody's telling me anything because I'm not 18. Sophie's voice cracked. What if something's really wrong? Then we'll deal with it. Together. Lucas put his arm around her shoulders. You're not alone anymore, okay? The door to examination room 4 opened. A doctor came out, young and tired looking. Family of Lena Hart? Lucas stood. That's us. The doctor looked at Sophie, then at Lucas and Mia. All of you. All of us, Lucas confirmed. Okay. Good news first, it's not her heart. Preliminary tests look fine. No heart attack, no blockage, nothing immediately life-threatening. Lucas felt his knees go weak with relief. Then what is it? Panic attack, severe one, combined with exhaustion and elevated stress levels. The doctor checked his notes. She said she's been under a lot of pressure lately. Job change, moving, family responsibilities. Her body basically said enough and shut down. Can I see her? Sophie asked. She's resting, but yeah, go ahead. Sophie disappeared into the room. Lucas started to follow, but the doctor stopped him. You're the boyfriend? Yeah. She needs to slow down. Whatever's causing this stress, it needs to get managed. The next time might not be just a panic attack. I understand, thank you. Inside the room, Lena was sitting up in bed, looking small and pale in a hospital gown. Sophie was holding her hand, crying quietly. Lena looked up when Lucas and Mia came in. You came, she said. Of course we came. Lucas pulled a chair next to the bed. How are you feeling? Stupid. It was just a panic attack. I thought I was dying. Panic attacks feel like dying. That's why they're terrifying. He took her other hand. The doctor said you're exhausted. I haven't been sleeping well. Too much on my mind. Like moving to Boston and uprooting your entire life? That and other things. She looked at Sophie. Can you give us a minute? Sophie nodded and took Mia outside. When the door closed, Lena turned to Lucas. I got another call yesterday, after you left, from Sophie's school counselor. Okay. Sophie applied for early admission to MIT, full scholarship. She found out Friday. She got in. Lucas stared. That's incredible. It is. And it changes everything. Lena's eyes filled with tears. She doesn't need to come to Boston with me. She can stay here, go to MIT, have the life she deserves. I don't have to drag her away from everything she knows. So what does that mean? It means I can stay. If I want to, there's no reason to take the Boston job now. Lucas felt his heart do something complicated. Is that what you want? I don't know. I spent all night thinking about it. The job is still good. The money's still better. But Sophie's going to MIT, and you're here, and I realized I took that job because I thought it was the only way to give Sophie a future. But she made her own future. She doesn't need me to sacrifice for her anymore. What do you need? I don't know. I've spent 8 years making decisions based on what Sophie needs. I don't remember how to make decisions for myself. Lucas squeezed her hand. Then let me help. What would make you happy? Not Sophie, not me. You. Lena was quiet for a long time. I like my job here. My clients need me. And I like this city. Even though it's cold and expensive and my apartment has cockroaches, I like my life here. Then stay. But the money isn't worth being miserable. You said it yourself, Sophie has MIT. She's set. So now you get to choose what you want. I want you and Mia and this messy, complicated thing we're building. Then you have it. All of it. She pulled him closer and kissed him, and he tasted salt and relief and possibility. When they pulled apart, she was smiling. I'm turning down the job. You're sure? Completely sure. For the first time in 8 years, I'm making a decision that's just for me, and I'm choosing to stay. The door opened. A nurse came in with discharge papers. You're free to go, Ms. Hart, but I want you to follow up with your primary care physician this week. And actually rest. No work for at least 2 days. I'll make sure she does, Lucas said. They left the hospital together, Lucas, Lena, Sophie, and Mia. Outside, the sun was coming up, turning the frozen world pink and gold. Can we get breakfast? Mia asked. I'm starving. They found a diner that was open, one of those places that served breakfast 24 hours and didn't judge you for ordering pancakes at 7 in the morning. They squeezed into a booth, adults on one side, kids on the other, and ordered enough food to feed a small army. So MIT, Lucas said to Sophie. That's huge. Sophie ducked her head, embarrassed. It's not a big deal. It's a massive deal, Lena corrected. Full scholarship, early admission, you're brilliant. I just like science and math and solving problems. That's literally what being brilliant is, Mia said. You're smart. Accept it. Sophie smiled. Okay, fine. I'm smart. Happy? Very. They ate breakfast while the diner filled up around them. Families coming from church, night shift workers heading home, people living their lives in that space between Saturday night and Sunday morning. Lucas watched Lena laugh at something Sophie said, watched Mia steal bacon from everyone's plates, and felt something settle in his chest. This was what he'd been missing without knowing it. After breakfast, they dropped Sophie and Lena at their apartment. Sophie hugged Lucas before getting out of the car. Thank you, she said quietly, for coming to the hospital, for not freaking out. You're family now. That's what family does. I'm glad Lena sat at the wrong table. Me too, kid. Me too. Lena kissed him goodbye, promised to rest, and headed inside. Lucas drove Mia home, both of them exhausted. That was scary, Mia said. It was, but everyone's okay. Are you and Lena okay? Like, really okay? We're figuring it out. But yeah, I think we're okay. Good, I like her. And Sophie's cool even though she's a teenager. High praise.
I'm serious. She's teaching me about true crime. Did you know there's a whole category of murders that happen in small towns? I did not know that, and I'm not sure I want you learning about murder. It's educational, Dad. I'm learning about criminal justice and forensic science. You're 8, almost 9, and very mature for my age. Lucas laughed despite everything.
That you are, kiddo. That you are. The next few days were a blur. Christmas came and went. Lucas, Mia, Helen, and Lena's first Christmas together, awkward and wonderful all at once. They exchanged gifts in Helen's living room, ate too much food, and watched Mia and Sophie argue about whether Die Hard was a Christmas movie. It takes place at Christmas, Mia insisted. That doesn't make it a Christmas movie, Sophie countered. By that logic, Batman Returns is a Christmas movie. It is a Christmas movie. Lena and Lucas exchanged glances across the room. Our kids are weird, Lena whispered. The best kind of weird, Lucas agreed. On December 28th, Lena officially turned down the Boston job. She called Lucas immediately after. I did it. I told them no. How do you feel? Terrified? Relieved? Like I just jumped off a cliff without checking if there was water below. There's water, I promise. You better be right. I am. Trust me. That night, Lucas called an emergency meeting with Mike. I need to ask you something, Lucas said, and you can say no. That's a terrible way to start a conversation. I want to expand the company, open a new division focused on sustainable logistics, green delivery, route optimization for electric vehicles, the whole thing. Mike leaned back in his chair. That's ambitious and expensive. I know, but I've been thinking about it for months. We've got the infrastructure. We've got the client base. We just need the expertise. And I want to offer Lena a job, Director of Community Partnerships. She'd work with cities and nonprofits to optimize their delivery systems, reduce waste, connect underserved communities. She's got the social work background, the connections, the passion. Mike studied him. You want to give your girlfriend a job at your company. I want to give a qualified candidate a job that doesn't exist yet but should. The fact that she's my girlfriend is secondary. Is it, though? Mostly. Lucas rubbed his face. Look, she turned down Boston to stay here. For me, partially. For Sophie, partially. But she also turned down a massive pay increase. I can't match Boston's offer, but I can give her something meaningful, something that uses her skills and pays her what she's worth. What's she making now? Lucas told him. Mike's eyebrows shot up. Are you kidding? That's criminal. Child Protective Services should pay way more than that. I know, so? So let me run the numbers, but yeah, I think we can make it work. On one condition. What? You tell her this was my idea. I don't want her thinking you're just handing her a job because you're dating. Deal. Lucas called Lena that night. I have a proposition for you. That sounds ominous. It's not. I hope. How would you feel about leaving CPS? Silence on the other end. Why? Because Mike and I want to start a new division at the company. Sustainable logistics, community partnerships, working with nonprofits to optimize their operations. And we need someone who understands systems and people and how to navigate bureaucracy. You want to offer me a job? Mike wants to offer you a job. I just think it's a good idea. Lucas, before you say no, hear me out. Better pay than you're making now. Not Boston money, but clothes. Better benefits. Actual work-life balance. And you'd be doing good work, real work. Helping communities instead of just documenting how they're failing. This feels like charity. It's not charity, it's business. We need someone with your skills. You need a job that doesn't destroy your soul. It's a win-win. I need to think about it. Take all the time you need. She called back 2 hours later. Okay? Okay? Okay, I'll do it. But if this goes sideways and we break up, I'm keeping the job. Deal, though we're not breaking up. You don't know that. I know enough. Lena started at Hayes Logistics on January 5th. Her first day, Lucas made a point of not hovering, not checking in every 5 minutes, not being that boss who dated his employee. He failed miserably. By noon, Mike had to physically remove him from Lena's office. Let her work, Mike said. She's smart. She'll figure it out. I know, you just want to make sure she's happy. I get it. But she needs space to do her job without you breathing down her neck. Lucas forced himself to stay in his own office. At 5 o'clock, Lena knocked on his door. "How was day 1?" he asked. "Good. Overwhelming. I have 17 meetings scheduled for next week and approximately 400 emails to answer. Welcome to corporate life. It's so different from social work. Everyone's actually nice here. Nobody's screaming at me. Nobody's threatening to sue me. It's weird."
"You'll adjust." She sat on the edge of his desk. "Thank you for this, for believing I could do it. You're going to be great at it. Give it a month. You'll be running the whole place. That's your job. I'll gladly hand it over." The weeks passed. Winter gave way to the earliest hints of spring, the kind where it was still freezing, but you could pretend the sun had warmth. Lena thrived at her new job, landing 3 major contracts in her first month.
Sophie started MIT, coming home on weekends full of stories about quantum physics and people who were somehow nerdier than she was. Mia's solar system project finally held together long enough to present to her class, earning her an A- and a lecture from her teacher about structural integrity. On Valentine's Day, Lucas took Lena back to Romano's, the same restaurant where they'd met by accident, where he'd poured his heart out to a stranger who turned out to be everything he didn't know he needed. They sat in the same booth, ordered the same food, laughed about how nervous they'd both been that first night. "I almost didn't come," Lena admitted. "I was so tired, and Sophie was being difficult, and I almost texted you to cancel." "I'm glad you didn't." "Me too." She sipped her wine. "Can you imagine if I had? We'd have never met. You'd have sat here alone waiting for a woman who never showed up." "Rebecca showed up, just 3 miles late and soaking wet." "That's right. I forgot about her." Lena grinned. "Do you ever wonder what happened to her?" "Mike says she's dating a firefighter, apparently very happy." "Good for her. She deserves it after walking 3 miles in a blizzard for nothing." They finished dinner and Lucas paid, leaving a generous tip for Tyler, who'd been their waiter that first night and was working again tonight. Outside it was cold but clear, stars visible despite the city lights. "Walk with me?" Lucas asked. They walked through the city, hands linked, breath fogging in the air. Lucas led her to a small park, the same one where he used to bring Mia when she was little. There was a bench overlooking a pond that was frozen solid. "This is nice," Lena said, sitting down. "I used to come here with Emma, after Mia was born, when I was too tired to function but needed to get out of the house. You don't talk about her much, Emma." "It's hard. Not because I'm trying to forget, but because remembering hurts." "Does it still hurt?" "Yeah, but differently now. Less like an open wound and more like an old scar. Still there, still tender sometimes, but not bleeding anymore." Lena leaned her head on his shoulder. "I think she'd approve. Of us." "I hope so." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the frozen pond and the bare trees and the city lights reflecting off everything. "Lana?" "Yeah?" Lucas pulled a small box from his coat pocket. "I know it's only been a few months. I know this is probably too fast and we should wait longer and do things the right way. But I've spent 4 years doing everything the safe way, the careful way, the way that doesn't risk getting hurt. And I'm done with that." He opened the box. Inside was a ring, simple, elegant, nothing flashy. Lena's hand went to her mouth. "I'm not saying we have to get married tomorrow, or next month, or even this year, but I want you to know that this is real for me. That I'm all in. That I want to build a life with you, whatever that looks like." He took her hand. "So Lena Hart, will you maybe, possibly, eventually marry me?" She laughed through her tears. "That's the worst proposal I've ever heard. Is that a no?" "That's a yes, you idiot. Of course it's a yes." He slipped the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly, like it had been waiting for her all along. She kissed him, and he tasted salt and joy in the future they were choosing together. "We have to tell the kids," she said when they pulled apart. "We do. Think they'll be okay with it?" "Mia will probably plan the whole wedding. Sophie will pretend not to care, but secretly be thrilled. That tracks." They walked back to the car, both of them grinning like idiots. Lucas drove Lena home, where Sophie was watching TV with her feet on the coffee table. "How was dinner?" Sophie asked without looking up. "Good," Lena said. "We have news." Sophie looked up. Her eyes went to Lena's hand, to the ring catching the light. Oh my God, you're engaged. We are. Sophie launched herself off the couch and hugged Lena, then pulled Lucas into it too. This is insane. You guys met like 5 minutes ago. 4 months, Lucas corrected. Same thing, but I'm happy for you, both of you. She pulled back. Does Mia know? Not yet. We're telling her tomorrow. She's going to lose her mind in a good way. The next morning, Lucas sat Mia down at the kitchen table. She knew immediately something was up. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I have something to tell you. Is Lena pregnant? What? No. Why would you? That's what happens on TV when someone has something to tell you. Usually someone's pregnant or dying. Nobody's dying and nobody's pregnant. Can you just listen? Mia folded her hands on the table. I'm listening. I asked Lena to marry me last night. She said yes. Mia stared at him. For a long, terrifying moment, she didn't react. Then her face split into the biggest smile he'd seen in years. Really? You're really getting married? Really? That means Sophie's going to be my sister. Like, actually my sister. Technically your stepsister, but yeah. Can I be in the wedding? Can I wear a fancy dress? Can we have cake? Yes to all of that. Mia threw herself into his arms. I'm so happy, Dad. So happy. Lucas held his daughter and felt his throat close up. Me too, kiddo. Me too. The wedding was planned for June. Small, simple, just family and close friends. Helen cried when they told her, happy tears that she tried to hide behind her hands. Mike offered to officiate, having gotten ordained online specifically for this purpose. Sophie and Mia appointed themselves co-wedding planners, a decision everyone immediately regretted when they started arguing about centerpieces. Flowers are traditional, Sophie insisted. Flowers are boring, Mia countered. We should have rocks, cool rocks. Nobody wants rocks at a wedding. You don't know that. Dad, can we have rocks? We're having flowers, Lucas said firmly. In April, Lena moved out of her apartment and into Lucas's house. Sophie went to MIT's dorms, declaring she needed space to grow as an individual, which everyone knew meant she wanted to throw parties without adult supervision. The house felt full in a way it hadn't in years. Lena's books on the shelves, her coffee mugs in the cabinet, her laugh echoing through rooms that had been too quiet for too long. One night in May, Lucas found Lena in what had been his office, now converted into her workspace. She was working on a proposal, her desk covered in papers and sticky notes and half-empty coffee cups. Come to bed, he said from the doorway. 5 more minutes. You said that an hour ago. This one's important. It's for a nonprofit that delivers meals to seniors. If I can get them on board with our routing system, we could cut their delivery times in half. Lucas walked over and gently closed her laptop. It'll still be there tomorrow. But tomorrow. Tonight, you rest. She let him pull her to her feet, leaning into him. When did you get so bossy? When I realized you work yourself to death if someone doesn't stop you. That's rich coming from you. I learned from the best. They went to bed, curling up together in the dark. Cooper snored from his bed in the corner. Mia's music played softly from down the hall. Normal nighttime sounds, the sounds of a house that was lived in and loved. Are you happy? Lucas asked quietly. Deliriously, scarily. Sometimes I wake up and can't believe this is my life. Good scary or bad scary? Good scary, like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop but hoping it never does. It won't, I promise. You can't promise that. Then I promise to be here when it does. How's that? Better. She kissed his shoulder. I love you, Lucas Hayes. I love you too, Lena Hart. Soon to be Lena Hayes. Actually, I'm keeping Hart for Sophie, so she knows we're still connected. Lena Hart Hayes? Too long. Just Hart professionally, Hayes personally. However you want it. I want it complicated and messy and real, which is exactly what we are. The wedding day arrived sunny and perfect, the kind of June day that felt like a gift. They got married in Helen's backyard, under an arch that Mia and Sophie had decorated with wildflowers they'd picked themselves. Mike officiated, making everyone laugh with stories about Lucas being hopeless at dating apps and Lena being too stubborn for her own good. Mia cried during the vows. Sophie pretended not to, but failed miserably. Helen dabbed at her eyes with a tissue that Cooper kept trying to steal. When Mike pronounced them married, Lucas kissed Lena like his life depended on it. Which, in a way, it did. The reception was in the same backyard, 50 people eating barbecue and dancing to music that was too loud. Mia gave a speech about how she knew Lena was the one because she didn't make her dad act weird anymore. Sophie gave a speech about how Lucas better treat her sister right or else. Helen gave a speech about second chances and love that endures. As the sun set and this party wound down, Lucas found himself standing with Lena by the fence, watching their families mingle. "We did it," Lena said. "We did. Think we can handle being married?" "I think we can handle anything," she laughed. "That's optimistic." "I'm trying it out. Being optimistic." "How's it feel?" "Terrifying, but in a good way." They stood together, watching Mia teach Sophie a dance she'd learned from TikTok, watching Helen laugh at something Mike said, watching their life unfold in front of them. "You know what's funny?" Lena said. "What?" "If I hadn't sat at the wrong table that night, none of this would have happened. One small mistake changed everything." "Best mistake either of us ever made." "You didn't make the mistake, I did." "Then thank you for making it." She turned to him, her face lit by the setting sun and the string lights Helen had hung in the trees. "You know I sat there on purpose, right?" Lucas stared. "What?" "I saw you sitting alone. You looked so nervous and sad and kind of cute. I knew you were waiting for someone, but I thought, what's the worst that could happen? He tells me to leave. I'm embarrassed for 5 minutes. Life goes on. You lied. That whole time, you knew." "I didn't lie. I just didn't correct you." She grinned. "And then you started talking about your daughter and your dead wife, and you were so honest and vulnerable that I couldn't bring myself to walk away. I poured my heart out to you under false pretenses. You poured your heart out to a stranger who needed to hear it, that you needed to say it to someone, and I'm glad you did." Lucas pulled her close. "You're trouble. The best kind. I love you anyway. I love you too, even though you're a terrible blind date." They kissed as the sun disappeared below the horizon, their families cheering behind them. When they pulled apart, the world had gone purple and gold, the kind of light that made everything look possible. Mia ran up and grabbed both their hands. "Come on! Sophie says we have to cut the cake before it gets too dark to see." They followed her back to the party, to the life they'd built from accidents and honesty and the courage to take chances on each other. Behind them, the last light of day faded into stars, and ahead, the future stretched out like a road they'd traveled together. 1 year later, almost to the day, Lucas found himself back at Romano's. Same booth, same nervous energy. But this time, Lena sat across from him, her hand in his, their wedding rings catching the candlelight. "Why are we here?" she asked, smiling. "Anniversary tradition. We come back to where it started. Where I lied to you and you fell for it. Where you took a chance on a sad stranger and changed both our lives." Tyler came over, still working here, still with the practiced smile, and took their drink order. When he left, Lena leaned forward. "You know what I was thinking about today?" "What?" "How different things would be if Rebecca had been on time, if you'd been sitting here with her instead of me, if I'd just walked past and never stopped." "But you didn't walk past." "No, I sat down. Best decision I ever made." "Second best," Lucas corrected. "What's the first?" "Saying yes when I proposed. That was a close second. But sitting down was first. Everything else followed from that." They ordered food they wouldn't finish and talked about their year. Lena's success at work, landing contracts with 3 major cities. Sophie's perfect GPA at MIT. Mia's acceptance into a gifted program that would start next year. Cooper's fur growing back in weird patches that made him look like he had camouflage. Normal life things. The mundane and the meaningful all mixed together. "I'm pregnant," Lena said, right as Lucas was taking a sip of wine. He choked, sputtering. "What?" "I'm pregnant. Found out this morning. 8 weeks." "8 weeks? And you're just telling me now?" "I wanted to be sure, and I wanted to tell you here, where it all started." She watched his face carefully. "Are you happy? I know we didn't plan this. We said we'd wait. I'm thrilled, terrified, but thrilled." He reached across the table and took both her hands. We're having a baby. We are. Mia's going to lose her mind. Sophie, too. She'll probably make a spreadsheet about optimal child development. That sounds exactly like something she'd do. They sat in their booth, holding hands across the table, and Lucas thought about the path that had brought them here. The grief, and the loss, and the years of barely surviving. The accidental meeting, and the terrible timing, and the courage to try anyway. The panic attacks and job offers and frozen highways. All of it leading to this moment, in this restaurant, with this woman who'd walked into his life by mistake and stayed on purpose. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For sitting at the wrong table, for lying to me, for giving me your number, for staying, for everything." "Thank you for being worth staying for." Tyler brought their food, and the conversation shifted to lighter things, baby names and nursery colors, and whether they should find out the gender or be surprised. They argued about it with the kind of comfort that came from knowing they'd figure it out together, whatever they decided. When they left the restaurant, the city was alive around them. People laughing, cars honking, sirens wailing somewhere in the distance, normal city night sounds, the soundtrack to their life. Lucas drove them home, where Mia was supposed to be doing homework and was definitely not. Where Cooper would greet them like they'd been gone for years instead of hours. Where their life waited, messy and complicated and more than either of them had dared to hope for. "I'm glad I met you," Lena said as they pulled into the driveway. "I'm glad you sat at my table." "Wrong table, but right choice. The best choice." They went inside together, and Lucas thought about Emma, how she'd want him to be happy, how she'd probably laugh at the absurdity of how he'd found it. He thought about the 4 years he'd spent frozen, too scared to move forward, too sad to imagine a different future. And he thought about Lena, who'd crashed into his life with a lie and stayed with the truth, who'd chosen him when she had every reason not to, who'd built a family with him from broken pieces and second chances, and the kind of love that didn't ask permission before changing everything. Mia met them at the door, Cooper dancing around her feet. "How was your anniversary dinner?" "Good," Lucas said. "Really good. We have news." Mia's eyes narrowed. "Is Lena pregnant? Why does everyone always guess that?" Lena laughed. "But yes, you're going to be a big sister." The scream that came out of Mia could probably be heard 3 blocks away. She launched herself at them both, nearly knocking them over, talking so fast her words ran together. "This is the best news ever. Can we paint the nursery? Can I help pick names? Is it going to be a boy or a girl? When's it coming? Can we get a bigger dog so the baby has a friend?" "Slow down," Lucas said, laughing. "One question at a time." But Mia was already on her phone texting Sophie, who responded immediately with a string of excited emojis and a message that she was coming home this weekend to celebrate. Lucas pulled Lena close, watching their daughter bounce around the living room, making plans for a baby that wouldn't arrive for 7 months. This was his life now. Chaotic and loud and full of people he loved who loved him back. "No regrets?" he asked quietly. "Not a single one," Lena said. "You?" "Just one." "What's that?" "That I didn't sit at the wrong table sooner." She kissed him, and through the window the city lights twinkled like stars, and in the distance Route 9 carried people home to their lives, and somewhere a stranger was sitting alone in a restaurant waiting for someone who might or might not show up. But here, in this house, in this moment, Lucas Hayes had found exactly what he'd been waiting for, even when he didn't know he was waiting at all. The end came not with fireworks or grand gestures, but with the quiet certainty that they'd chosen each other, over and over, until the choice became who they were. 2 people who'd met by accident and stayed on purpose. 2 families stitched together from loss and hope. 2 lives that had been broken and rebuilt into something stronger than they'd been before. And in a restaurant across town, Tyler cleared table 14, straightened the chairs, and prepared for the next couple who would sit there making memories without knowing they were sitting where a love story had started with a lie and bloomed into truth. Because that's how the best stories happen, accidentally, imperfectly, and exactly when you're not looking for them.